Okay, and we are live. Good day to everybody. Good morning, good evening, whatever you are. We are here to have a debate about veganism. My interlocutor today is Csypher, and I would like to invite him to introduce himself if he has any opening words or uh, any short explanation of his position, and then I will do the same. So, Cipher, you have the floor.
Wonderful. Thank you kindly. Basically, I'm Csypher. I have a master's degree in marketing and a bachelor's degree in communications. I am fortunate enough to be a team member of the Animal Rights Advocates Discord server. I do frequent activism on there. And basically, why I'm here is I was invited by a mod here to the server. I began engaging in some discourse in which I explained how when we take a holistic and realistic look at the breadth of the field of philosophy, it seems that veganism as a normative statement, as a typical proposition within most particulars, will end up being what one ought to do. And that's all I seek to communicate here today. And realistically, the ends at which I'll be aiming is to demonstrate how my Connann here, his position falls short of having an adequately holistic approach, and that why he should adopt veganism instead.
Okay, I'm Conan. I'm not usually a mod here, but for this debate, because no mod could guarantee that they will be here, uh, I will be modding, even though apparently two mods are here, but okay. Uh, my position is that philosophy is outdated. It serves very little practical purpose today. It is inadequate to explore the realistic nature of human morality. It was always inadequate to explain uh, the nature of human morality. That's why no philosopher agrees with any other philosophers. And I think that the only appropriate way to uh, tackle the topic of morality is descriptivism, which I will do in this debate. So we have to find some opening argument to start discussing. So I would invite Cipher to say why he thinks I should be vegan.
Yeah, cool. So, most simply put, I'd say it's because you don't adequately understand animals. That by participating within animal agriculture, we fail to recognize the nature of animals and the relationships of ourselves to animals. We reject the natural teleology that is implicit to the human experience. This is true in basically every element of our lives, and I don't see why we should take empiric instrumentalism to insubordinate and basically subvert our historical understandings of how causes, effects, means, and ends function. And the primary reason for this is because epistemology has its roots in teleology. Ethics has its roots in teleology. Logic has its roots in teleology. So I don't understand how we can begin closing off, whether you want to consider them sets or propositions or arguments, while we're refining the scope, making it so narrow that we aren't able to fully understand the teleology of life in a naturalistic sense.
Uh, okay, I recognize your position. I still do not understand the answer. Why should I be vegan?
Yeah, so you should be vegan because you are currently engaging in a relationship with animals that is fundamentally exploitative. You're alienating them from themselves as an ends in and of themselves, and instead you're making them instrumental and using them for your own ends.
Yes,
And
that is
in this
absolute.
process,
Sorry.
yeah. So in this process, the outcome is that you understand yourself through the subordination of another, and almost prepositionally, like in the grammatical sense of prepositions, you aren't able to have an accurate reflection of the world. So the core of the issue is that when you fail to recognize ends in and of themselves, ends as themselves, you are failing to understand yourself as an ends. Does that make sense?
The last part does not, but before we go deeper into that, I would certainly agree that I exploit animals. I recognize that I exploit animals, but I don't see any problem with it. I
Okay.
also exploit a lot of other things. I exploit air, I exploit water, I exploit plants, I exploit other people. That is, and when I use exploit, I mean exploit as a resource.
Yeah,
So
yeah, no, I understand.
I do not see a problem with it. That is the
So,
nature of existence.
well, hang on. Why is it the nature of existence?
To exploit to exploit resources, exploitation of resources is necessary for life.
But that doesn't quite follow. You said that the nature of life is exploitation. Why would that be the case? Why should we accept that?
Well, we don't have to accept it, but I think that it is a fact about the world. It is
Yeah, but why? What justifies that belief?
nothing. It doesn't. When you say justify, it means that you put yourself in a position in which somebody has to answer to you and explain their position to the degree in which you would basically do the same thing, and
Yeah. So my issue here is though that
justification
I've
is
just
not
pressed you
needed.
on something. I've just pressed you on something, and you said that you have no good reason to hold that position.
Well,
And when we understand that proposition in relation to other propositions, if you say that you have no good reason to adopt a different proposition when you have no good reason to hold a proposition in the first place, I'm not sure what we're discussing.
well,
No, because if your cultivation of propositions and which ones you employ is arbitrary, like, do you not engage in a decision-making process?
I do engage in decision-making process, and I decided that exploiting that I don't have a problem with exploitation of animals, but it is completely a different thing to say that the world should function in a way which is different than it functions now. That is
That's the naturalistic fallacy.
well,
You're
let's
saying
explore
that
that
we can
then.
just take an is and make it an ought.
No, let's just say there is no oughts. Oughts are just advices that people have and their preferences. Oughts, I reject oughts. You will be sure that,
Why?
well, because I don't want to govern other people's lives or give them advice, which is unsolicited.
Yeah, so we can still have like ethical prescriptions
Yeah,
without like domineering others' lives. That has nothing to
well,
do with like oughts existing.
well, if you have a prescriptivism, that means that you are telling either to yourself or to others that you should do something, right?
Do you? So how does your decision-making process work? How do you choose between two different things?
I go with my highest preferences at any given time.
Yeah, how do your preferences function?
Well, it is a complicated equation of cost-benefit analysis.
Why do you say a cost-benefit analysis? What
I
gives
have
that like normativity? What gives that normative force?
nothing. Me.
Oh, so it's again baseless. It's again dogmatic.
Well, it's not baseless. It is based on my preferences, which
Well,
are
no. My issue here is that it seems like you're just asserting like an ideological adherence to like capitalist realism. Like you seem to just be taking the world as it is on an ideological level at face value, and then trying to justify all the injustices of the world like post hoc.
no. I'm not trying to justify anything, and I don't have any ideology. What I'm trying to do in all of my debates, which are mostly with vegans, I am trying to get the most accurate picture of the world. I have no desire to change it or to create any ideology. I'm
So
just,
how
I'm
does a cost
just.
benefit analysis function?
Well, you said me perspective. How I make my own decisions. I make my own decisions on which I believe that will make me the greatest net benefit.
Yeah, but how does that net how do you like calculate that net benefit? Because I feel like you've just landed on and admitted to like a type of positive utilitarianism.
Well, it would be more closely related to hedonism, but okay. You can say that those two are connected. Yeah,
They're comparable, yeah.
yeah, they're
Same with the
comparable.
motivism.
So
They're all very similar positions. Same with the motivism. They're all very similar positions.
yes, they are.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
simply
but
say that
so
they are not. They are not a moral position. I only have a view of morality as a descriptive thing. Okay,
yeah,
I did give you my definition of morality, so but I will do it now for the room. I think that morality is into human uh, system of behavior based upon evolutionary trait of moral instinct. And I, of course, I recognize that my definition is a lot more narrower than the classic definition of descriptive morality, which includes basically societal customs and it's more cultural relativism. Uh, but I think that because cultural relativism in the end comes down to preferences of usually a few influential figures, it can be dismissed in those places when it is in conflict with moral instinct, because descriptive morality consists of both moral instinct and moral judgment. And I think that moral judgment always retreats before the moral instincts eventually.
So I'd really like to go back to like the cost benefit analysis though, because
Sure.
the primary emphasis that I want to like, and there's something that I want to grill you on later. It's the moral ethical distinction that Hegel makes. But for the time being, I'd like to focus on how do you get informed? How do you understand? How do you get knowledge of this cost benefit analysis?
Well, I collect information from the world.
Yeah, but
Can
how
we
do you
get? Can we
understand?
get? Can we?
How do you understand the nature of cost, and how do you understand the nature of benefit?
Can we get a more example for us to have an easier discussion? Can we say how did I decided to have this discussion with you? As an example.
Well, no. I want to know what the nature of benefit and cost are.
Well, I think that I am driven by some biological and social incentives to act in a certain way. Do I choose or not choose to act with those incentives are my thing, and of course they can be those two things can be in conflict, and I can either choose one or the other, whichever I believe that at this given time will give me the greatest benefit, which will be the greatest preference.
But this is ideology. Like you're describing external influences which give like implicit biases to decision-making processes. That is the function of ideology, as it's discussed in like Marx, Althusser, Adorno, Fisher. Like
Okay.
this is also Zizek, Jameson. Like this is like a very common phenomenon that's understood within like social science and critical theory. It's like what you're describing is ideology. And one of the things that Jameson, Mark Fisher, and Zizek all point out is that it's our inability to acknowledge ideology that makes it so subversive. That the universal declaration of the neoliberal age is the death of ideology, the end of ideology, because with the end of the Cold War, we saw the eclipsing of capitalism, of communism, or any other inversion or contradiction to capitalism. All we have now is like capitalistic iterations, post-capitalist versions of these dead ideas. So that is why I'm accusing you of participating within capitalist realism, which would be the ideology of like late postmodern, post-Fordist capital.
Well, if you will accuse me of that, then I don't think that I have a sufficient knowledge of it to contradict you. So let's go with that for now.
Okay, cool.
Okay, my answer still stands. Why should I be vegan?
Yeah. So what this aspect of ideology does is that it maligns our understanding of ourselves in relationship to the world. So this is something that I'm happy to explain, mate. This is something that Spinoza points out. When we engage in dogmatism, we are unable to. Our ability to speak the truth gets weaker, more narrow, and lessened. So if I don't understand like Newtonian physics, I can't properly like make a bridge, for example. Any bridge I build is far less likely to be successful. So therefore, as
Well,
it
that's
relates to doing,
incorrect.
why would that be the case? Why would that be incorrect?
Well, Romans did not know Newtonian physics as we would describe it, and what they built still stands 2,000 years later.
Yeah, no, but I'm talking about me. Do you think it would be easier or more difficult with an understanding of Newtonian physics to build a bridge?
I think most laborers who build bridges don't understand Newtonian physics as
That doesn't answer my
theoretical.
question. Does Newtonian physics make it easier or more difficult to build a bridge?
Well, I would certainly say that more knowledge in general helps, but certainly,
Which is precisely my point.
yeah,
More knowledge, more understanding, because understanding is the highest form of knowledge. The greater our understanding of the world is, the better decisions we can make, the more easily we can navigate the world. And that directly relates to our ability to understand the truth. And so I'm saying that your unintentional commitments to capitalist realism as ideology is what's leading you to see this cost-benefit analysis as an adequate mode of decision-making, and that descriptivism is true. And that, do you have any specific metaphysical commitments?
no, I'm not well versed in metaphysical positions.
Yeah, so I'd say that metaphysics probably ought to be the first starting point for philosophy. Either that or epistemology, or we can do them
Yeah,
simultaneously.
but I'm not interested in philosophy much. As I said,
And
all philosophy I read was bullshit. I disagree with most of it.
my high school philosophy teacher once told me that bullshit is actually an academic term as it relates to philosophy for something that's logically invalid and unsound. But I'm very concerned if you think that's the case for the entire canon of philosophy.
Well, not entire, but what I read, and which was admittedly not that much, but it was enough to make me understand that I don't need to study that field to have this sort of discussions. So,
How do you feel about logic?
do you mean prepositional logic? I am not opposed
logic
to it.
simpliciter. Logic simpliciter.
I'm not opposed to it. I agree that logic as presented in, which I mean not logic in like common use of the word, but a more specific word which is used inside philosophical discussions is correct.
Yeah. So
Of course,
do you
there's
think
many forms of logic, not just one.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Like we've got paraconsistent logics, natural deduction, modality. Like there's many logics. Is there a specific type of logic you reject?
I did not go into each specific type to understand it.
I'm just asking about the ones you've read.
Completely to make an argument either for or against.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. So, what about like epistemology? Is there any like epistemic systems that you're against, that you reject, that you think are bullshit?
That I know of, no.
Okay. Are there any metaphysical positions that you think are bullshit?
As I said, I'm not well versed in metaphysical
Okay.
positions. I was mostly concentrated on ethical positions because that is what I was interested in at the time.
Mm-hmm. So it seems a bit obscure to me, a bit idiosyncratic, to say that philosophy seems like bullshit when you've only engaged in ethics. Because I would say that ethics is a consequence of logic, epistemology, and metaphysics, as it relates to an agent to navigate the world.
Yeah, let's explore that.
Yeah, awesome. So I do have metaphysical commitments. I'm pretty committed to to process ontology. Like there are no objects, there are only processes, and that everything is an affirmation that negates itself against the world.
What do you mean there's no objects?
Yeah, so basically all objects are just processes. And like we can make allowance. Yeah, I'm happy to explain. So obviously there are elements of the sciences which like constitute and require objects within their like instrumental uses, and we can like subordinate that because process ontology isn't like against pluralism. So I'm just like acknowledging like a very obvious point and saying that acknowledging that it doesn't actually negate the view. But basically, a human is basically a field of differences, in the sense that they are their skin, their circulatory system, they are their lungs, they are their respiratory system, they are their digestive system, they are their brain states. Like all of these processes, because none of these things are static, none of these things are objects. They all have motion. These things together are what constitutes a given human.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I would
Instead of
still call a human an
becomes a tree.
object. I mean, human occupies a region of space. That would be a definition of object if you ask me, but okay.
But like a human doesn't stop. We are always subject to time. We are always being in time.
Well, time is not necessarily. We can well, not literally we can limit time, but time is a fraction of mass. Without mass, there will be no time. So time is dependent on the existence of objects.
Well, no, it's required
does.
for the existence of processes.
No,
because these processes have mass.
But no, well, you can say that it is process cannot have a mass. Process is
Why?
changing. Process is a change from one state to another. That is a process, right? So process.
Well, no, it can be repetition of the same difference.
Yeah, it can be. It cannot be a repetition of the same difference because there is no process there.
Why? What do you mean there's no
process? The definition of the process is change from one state to another. That is a process.
Why does it have? Well, hang on. Why are we taking one dogmatic definition of process?
Well, we don't have to take one dogmatic definition of process, but if we are
because I'm appealing to how it's used by contemporary ontologists.
Well, I don't know temporal ontologists, but I know Common English, and that is a language if we are in which we are conversing. So my understanding of the word process is transition from one state to another.
Yeah. Well, even then, there always is a state of change, like within given processes.
Yes,
a process can be repeating itself through time.
Yes.
Hell, that's the dialectic itself. We don't even need to go into the Deleuze. We don't even need to go into Whitehead. We can just stick with
but the problem is that time is dependent on the existence of objects.
Yeah.
And so objects do exist.
Yeah. No. Okay. Time is not. Time is not predicated on objects. Time is predicated on processes.
Is a kind of, no.
Why? How do you get to objects then?
Objects are just energy at given mass.
Okay. What is energy?
Energy. Well, there are many types of energies, but energy is a basic fundamental building block of the universe. I'm taking a not philosophical, but
energy,
physics.
Is energy an object? Yeah, is energy an object?
Energy is if we will be literal, when there is no difference between mass and energy, in certain forms of energy, it would be objects.
Could you give me an example of a type of energy that is an object?
Sorry, can you repeat that? I didn't hear.
Could you give me an example of a type of energy that is an object?
Of energy that is not an object.
Sorry, no, a type of energy that is an object.
Is an object, of course.
Yeah.
This planet is a type of energy which is an object. Also, the sun is an object.
So the planet?
Yeah.
Okay. What's the planet? What's the planet predicated on? Like, I'm talking like a base object from which we can understand all other objects.
Oh, you mean the smallest building mass, the quartz?
Yeah.
The quartz.
Yeah. So why are they not a process?
Because in any given moment, there is no change.
Well, what do you mean by given moment?
Well, when they're observed, they are not changing.
Yeah, but that's an issue with observation itself. So when we take snapshots of observations, that like it's not necessarily change, and that's why it's about difference and repetition. So it can be a repetition of the same thing throughout like time, because whilst we are observing them, time is still progressing, and this is actually why a lot of physicists actually adopt the position of ontic structural realism, not the specific version that I utilize, but they do
So
adopt
why
various
don't
variations of
you
it.
utilize theirs?
Hmm?
Why don't you
Because
utilize theirs
Hmm?
if they are
it's
presumably
the
have
same
more
position.
knowledge of physics than you?
I would also appeal to the people who innovated the theory as having more knowledge of physics than me. I'm not a physicist,
Neither
but no,
am I.
it's cool. But they're competing theories, and when we look at like quantum mechanics, like we can observe like processes. It's more that the most radical form of it.
Yeah,
The
we can
eliminate.
observe processes, but we can also observe objects. I'm not saying that processes do not exist. I'm simply saying that objects do exist.
Yeah, but I'm just not sure why we would take objects to necessarily exist outside of instrumentalization.
Well, why should we say that processes exist without objects? Without an object, the process would have anything
Can
to
we
do.
observe? Maybe a better way to look at this would be: can we observe an object outside of a process, like an object that isn't predicated on a process?
I would say yes, and I'm very interested in what it would be your answer.
Okay, well, no, I'd like to know. Like, I don't understand how that could be possible.
Okay, I am now observing my microphone. I think that...
How are you observing your microphone, though?
There is a light reflecting from it.
Yeah, and the visual processes, the process of your brain, like there is like constant change going on through the process of observation. So there is no objects in a vacuum. That's what I'm getting at.
Okay, I now tapped my microphone.
Mm-hmm.
The base, not the actual microphone.
Yeah.
Okay, my finger hit something. What did it hit?
It hit the microphone, but the microphone itself is a process.
Okay, how is it a process?
Because it is the collections of like different metals together that operate like in relation.
And collections of these metals are usually seen as making an object, right? That is why the word object exists in the English language.
Yeah, no, I'm aware of why the word object exists. I'm aware of like the common misconception and the common attribution of the word object to things within the world. However, I'm saying that on an ontological level, that this is like not the best position to take.
Well, I found it very adequate until today, and I don't think I will have a problem.
Yeah, but you've also admitted that you haven't read any metaphysics.
Yeah, I didn't have any need to.
Yeah, but no. Anyway, back to.
And that is why I said to you, why do I need or should?
So we've sort of veered off a little bit here because I was trying to explain to you like my metaphysics and how it relates to how it informs like logic and ethics, epistemology. Yeah,
I would call it with some terms which was coined by another member of the server, mental masturbation. I don't think it would lead you, well, not you secretly, but anybody to...
That is a delightful ad hominem.
Yeah, I know. To any meaningful knowledge. Or knowledge at all.
Okay, why do you think that? Because I was literally in the process of like explaining how it relates to ethics and logic and epistemology.
Yeah, okay, we can go to that. But let's say it's like this. If I take this very heavy microphone base and I smash somebody in the head with it, they would understand that it is an object.
Why?
Well, that would be their understanding of it.
Yeah, no. You're just. But the thing is, you're just appealing to like existing like social norms. Like you're appealing to just like common existing usages of a term as. Yeah, which says nothing about the nature of things and the relationships between things within the universe.
Well,
so like what you're treating as an answer isn't acknowledging the question.
Yeah, if I interested in the nature of the universe, I will never pick up a philosophy book. I will pick up a physics book, right?
But what about my position is incompatible with physics?
Well, I don't know enough about physics or your position to say that it is incompatible, but
Yeah,
I'm just
well,
saying that my position is not incompatible with physics.
so well, no. What I'm getting at is that I'm saying that your position is incompatible with ethics.
Well,
So
let's explore ethics then.
yeah, well, that's what I'm trying to get to. But you keep getting hung up about objects.
Well, when you say
What are
there are
we
no
waiting for?
objects, that's a big statement which needs a little detour, but let's get back to ethics.
Wonderful. So, yeah, how can we claim that one ought to do something? Well, sorry, not even that. How can we discuss, like, how logic functions? Like, the possibility of the grammar of truth, and by extension, epistemology, like, what truth is, what knowledge is, without understanding the things which can possess these properties first.
Well, I don't think that. Are we talking about now about logic, or are we talking about ethics?
Logic and epistemology is what we're talking about. And how you can establish them without metaphysics. Some type of metaphysic.
Well, I certainly probably do have some type of something that we would recognize as metaphysics. Of course, I'm not ready enough to pinpoint which one is that, but I'm sure that you will be able to. I would say that you can make a logical proposition which follows and that can follow, but I think it will come down to our different understanding of what ethics is, which would be
Well, no. How can
the
you make a
problem.
logical proposition? How can you make a logical proposition without like any type of like metaphysics? Because if you're willing to acknowledge that you do have like metaphysical baggage, like
I
we
probably
can like
do.
go down that route. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's fine. So from there, what I'm getting at is that it's your misunderstandings of metaphysics and your misunderstandings of which is what causes your misunderstandings of ethics. So,
No,
like,
you
whenever
you
we
didn't
are,
even hear my understanding of ethics, and you already call it misunderstood.
well, yeah, no, I'm calling all of descriptivism a misunderstanding of ethics.
Ooh,
Like that,
that's
yeah, that,
hard because without descriptivism there can be no understanding of reality. Because what descriptivism is describes the world. All of science is descriptive.
yeah. No. I'm saying that as it relates to ethical descriptivism, and as in relation to like an elimination of prescriptions as it relates to ethics. So, like, I don't know why you take me to be talking about anything other than your position.
Okay, continue.
Okay, cool. So yeah, why I think your position is inadequate because it doesn't acknowledge how descriptions relate to the world. So, are you familiar with the work of Alistair McIntyre?
No, these appeals to the names of philosophers will not be productive.
Okay, that's fine. So I'll just read you a short excerpt from his work then.
Sure.
So we can understand the good, like good and bad, as adverbs, not as a noun or nouns. And how we apply these adverbs is to a given function, practice, or behavior. And so what McIntyre says in his own words is, when talking about behaviors, such concepts are functional concepts. That is to say, we define both watch and farmer in terms of the purpose or function which a watch or farmer are characteristically expected to serve. It follows that the concept of a watch cannot be defined independently of the concept of a good watch, nor the concept of a farmer independently of that of a good farmer, and that the criterion for something's being a watch and the criterion of something's being a good watch, and also for farmer and for all other functional concepts, are not independent of each other. So we understand the good in relation to the behavior that is being done, and that behavior we understand within a given context.
Yeah, okay, that is exactly the same thing that perspective philosophy said when we
It's
discussed
pretty
it.
based. Yep.
Yeah, I think that. Okay, let's say, can you give me an example of a good watch, like a real
Yeah.
world example of the good watch?
Yeah. So one that tells time accurately and is
Okay,
not made out of animal products.
okay, which clock keeps time accurately?
Well, I don't have one here,
No,
but
name one.
one. Hmm?
Name one.
So accurately would refer to like a cultural standard. So like
No, well,
would take.
no, accurately would
You mean
depend on
no?
you, right?
Why would accurately depend on me?
Yeah,
Like it would
well, you
depend on
are
the
you are
context.
the one. Look, the most accurate watch in the world.
I keep saying context. I don't know why you're like ignoring context.
Well, because if it is context, then it is not something that is inherent. It is you who define if any given watch is good or bad. Let's say you have a watch which is a Swiss certified chronometer, which I think is minus and plus 2 seconds a day. You can say that's a good watch. I can say no, that's a shitty watch. 2 seconds is inadequate, and you can point out, and I can point out that there is an atomic watch made by some guy named Ya, which is able to lose only 1 second every 15 billion years. And somebody can say that is not accurate. It is a deviation, although an extremely tiny one, of 1 second in 50 billion years. That is not accurate. So no watch in this
What do you
world
mean when you say
is
accurate?
accurate.
What do you mean when you say accurate?
Exact. No watch keeps exact time. So no watch can be
Well, no. You're just
objectively
begging the
good.
question. What do you mean? What do you mean exact? You're just begging the question.
Accurate time. No watch keep accurate time.
Yeah. No. What is accurate? Like, so you've gotten caught up on this image, this like singular object like focus of accuracy, and you're trying to like extend it into like some like category or absolute notion. When how I would understand accurate would be in relation to its given context, and accuracy should be understood dialectically. So something gets more and less accurate as it becomes better or worse. There is progression and regression within such concepts, and that is how we understand the good and the bad.
Yeah, but when you say a watch needs to keep accurate time, that was your you said
Yeah,
you said that.
and so you're either straw manning me or you're not listening.
No, I'm listening, but I'm saying that accuracy.
When did I say accuracy has anything
is-
to do with like an object-like categorical notion?
No, I simply say that it depends on you. What level of accuracy would you accept?
Why would
before
it
you call
depend on
something
me? Why
good
would
or
it not
bad?
depend on other watches? Why would it depend on me and not why would it not depend on other watches?
What do you mean? Well, it is you who are looking around the watches, right? Do you think that there is, if let's say, if we have 50 billion watches which are made to the same standard of 1 second every 50 billion years, and then we have 3 billion watches which are made to go a minute every day, plus or minus, do you think that we should take an average between those
No,
two?
I think we should take the good watch as the watch that does not cause me to be late for work.
Well, again,
Because I don't know why you're trying to divorce like what is good from how it relates to like behaviors and relationships.
I'm not trying to create between relationship.
Well, no,
and
it
behaviors.
really feels like you're not listening to me, and you're getting caught up in like this like weird, like arbitrary and sort of like idealistic notion of like what accuracy is.
No,
as
I'm
opposed
not.
to the
I'm not
function of
talking to accuracy
in relation to the function of the concept.
I'm not to accuracy at all. I'm simply saying that it is you who judge what is good and what is bad.
Yeah, because ethics is agent centric. Like, yeah, I am a moral agent. I am doing my best to utilize virtue as an acquired human characteristic to determine what is good and what is bad. And I'm trying to enhance that skill to make better choices. Yeah, sure.
Great. We can continue now.
Like I don't go. I'm not sure like why you thought I was asserting anything otherwise. I'm really confused.
Well, in that case, I make the mistake. Sorry.
Okay, cool. So, are you cool with how we would determine what a good watch is then?
Well, I certainly, if you agree that both you and I have our own criteria for what a good watch is, then yes.
Well, yeah, we can disagree on what a good watch is, but the thing is, the watch isn't good or bad because of us. It's good because of its function. Like we don't prescribe the goodness onto it.
Well, we do. I mean, the bad watch and a good watch, which I would call a bad watch and a good watch, have the same function, simply that one produces it to the degree which is more satisfactory to me.
Well, no, the goodness and the badness comes from its relationships to us,
Yeah, but
not from us ourselves.
how do you mean without relationships to us?
So, like, a watch in a vacuum, we couldn't understand as a bad watch because nothing exists in a vacuum. Nothing exists without relation. It's only through the evaluation of relationships which we are able to understand that which is good and that which is bad.
Okay, and?
Yeah, so I don't understand like what your concern is with what I've said. I don't understand like why you're objecting to what I'm saying.
I'm not objecting at all. I'm simply inquiring deeper information.
Okay. So as it stands currently with this idea of functional concepts out there, like why do you think we cannot get to an ought statement?
I don't see how we could get to a statement.
Okay, so ought we use something bad?
If there is nothing better.
Yeah, no. It's bad in its existing relationships. So we have two watches on the table. One does not tell the time accurately. The other one does tell the time accurately, as it relates to like our existing functions. So could you, in a decision-making process, ever say that one should take the bad watch?
Yeah. If that bad
How?
watch is a gold Rolex, and the good watch is that atomic watch, which is the size of a room, I would take the Rolex. It would be preferable to me. Even
Yeah,
though
but
Rolex
why are you
gives
adding
less
all these
accurate time.
confounding? Why would you think that the two watches are like aesthetically different or different in their form? Was that what I
Because
said?
if they are not the same,
No, was that what I said? Like
well, if
nominalistically, they're not the same,
they
but
are not the same, then
as it relates to their weight, size, and general aesthetic appeal, they're comparable.
well, everything is comparable. This the screen I'm looking for is comparable to
Can
a
you answer the
lion,
question?
but
Can you answer the question, please?
well, you cannot avoid the physical characteristics from the function.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm asking you about a specific type of relationship as it relates to the good and the bad. And you're trying to add confounding relationships to assert that like this relationship is disvaluable for some reason. I don't know why that would be the case, and it frankly just feels like you're dodging.
Well, you can say it's dodging. I would say that I simply let's be very honest. I have different notions in my head of what you are envisioning and what I'm envisioning.
Yeah, that's a non sequitur. That has nothing to do with what we're talking about. What we're talking about is like two relationships to two objects that share like that have the same function. One relationship will have like higher fidelity to its function than the other, and you're telling me that there is no way that I can like prescribe that one ought to pursue the higher function, the better function, the good function over the bad function.
Well, let's say we have two watches which are exactly the same, and one is more accurate than the other, and everything else is the same. And I know that one is more accurate. I don't. I would certainly be within my preferences to pick the more accurate one.
Mm-hmm.
I would never.
And
But when I would, if I would go to say somebody, you should pick the more accurate one, I would do that with implied understanding that they won't a more accurate watch.
Yeah, and why would anyone not want a more accurate watch?
I don't know. But
because there's no good reason to suggest it because it's rationally desirable.
There is no good reason which I can think of that is dependent on my implied understanding of the world, right? I can only imply my desires to others and understand the world through my lens.
Yeah, and that's why you should look to develop this internal acquired human characteristic of virtue, to have a better understanding of that which is rationally desirable, to give you not only a better means of navigating the world, but helping others navigate the world within your relationship. I don't
have a wish to help others navigate the world.
It doesn't. Yeah, that doesn't really matter though.
How it does not matter? If I don't have a wish to do it, I do not need to do it.
Why would your feelings matter?
Well, why would? Of course they matter. They are influence onto me.
Yeah, but
they're already a factor in my
equation. There is a logical structure to decision making. You've already agreed that there is a logical structure to decision making that has external influences from the outside world. So I don't understand why your personal feelings would insubordinate the logic of a given decision making process.
Because they're an incentive. If I say this is a negative emotion, I applied a value, and this is a positive emotion, I applied a value, which is of course arbitrary and
yeah, it's arbitrary. It's meaningless.
Yeah, well, it's not meaningless. It's
as it relates to decision making, it's meaningless.
Oh, it's not meaningless.
Where's the meaning in it then?
Okay, why do you?
Where's the meaning?
Let me explain it. Okay, let's say and this is a hypothetical, I am forcing you to choose, will I kill your mother or a woman of equal age, health status and everything else? Which one of them should I kill? And if...
Yeah, you should kill the one that's not my mother.
Yeah,
obviously.
Why?
Because I have social responsibilities.
Yeah, no, you have feelings for your mothers.
No, it's not about the feelings. It's about the relations.
So you don't like your mother?
No, me liking my mother has nothing to do.
Okay, how do you know you like your mother?
Depends on the day, frankly. I don't always like my mother.
Well, let's say in this hypothetical you do like your mother, and I'm certain you like your mother at a different point of your life.
So let's say in this hypothetical, you were forced to value your feelings.
No, let's now you are dodging a bit.
No. I'm saying that you trying to chisholm this problem like this is just very silly to me.
Well, because, it can be, but I'm a person which is not of big words and not of grand ideas. I'm a simple man working with simple ideas. So I'm certain that at a certain point of your life you liked your mother, or you can substitute.
I still like her sometimes.
Yeah, I still. And let's imagine that you are in that state in which you do like your mother. How do you know that you like your mother? Do you have a feeling that you like your mother?
Yeah. Typically, there would be a type of pleasure response. Sure.
So there is a feelings are important.
I don't see what that. Why? How? That doesn't follow. How does that follow in relation to decision making?
Well, the reason that you choose your mother is because you like your mother.
Why?
You have a preference for her.
No, that's not what I said. I said that I have specific relations,
and that's
moral,
relationship...
prepositional relations. No. When I say relations, I'm speaking in a metaphysical sense. Within the social structure of our society, I have specific relations prepositionally to my mother, and that is why it would be virtuous. It would be of good character for me to save my mother over a random woman.
Yeah.
In the same sense that I wouldn't indict someone else for saving their mother over my mother.
Well, I wouldn't either. I wouldn't doubt anybody to save anybody. But
because it's about relations. It's not about personal feelings.
Well,
so I'm still yet to see how personal feelings
that relationships are based on feelings, and feelings are based on relationships. I think those two
That's a false equivalency.
Well, you can say that, but
Demonstrate how it's not, then.
Most psychologists would disagree.
Yeah, cool. Like, give me an argument then.
I
see no reason why I should. No, you didn't. You just like presented the false equivalency dogmatically, and you're just like, oh well, most psychologists agree with me. When I don't even believe that to be the case.
Yeah, but you also don't believe that the planet is an object. So.
Well, hey, that's. I don't know if that's a non sequitur or an ad hominem or both. Maybe it's an appeal to ridicule as well. But no, this is ridiculous because. Okay, cool. So you've made an empirical claim that most psychologists would support a false equivalency between relations.
Well, you say that it is a false equivalency.
Yeah, that's fine. Give me a paper.
On a paper on connection between emotion and relationship.
No. Between metaphysical relations and...
I'm not interested in metaphysical relationship.
That's literally all I'm talking about, dude. And see, this is why I'm concerned that you've been strawmanning me this entire time, because all I've been talking about is metaphysical relations.
Yes, I'm not... Look, I'm not interested in metaphysical relationship. We are here for you to say why I should be vegan.
Yeah, and I'm demonstrating now, because you've already agreed that you capitulate to ideology and that you're not well read on metaphysics, but you do have metaphysical baggage, but you're still willing to assert dogmatically your metaphysical framework as the variables that we insert into a given moral proposition, and that is why you are justified in your given behavior when you have no understanding of metaphysics.
I'm not
you keep falsely equating metaphysical relations with social relations.
You are just spitting out word salads.
No, I am explaining the process of this discussion.
Of course, great. I am a simple man.
Hang on. Did I say anything untrue?
Explain to me why I should be vegan.
No, hold on. In my description of this conversation, did I say anything untrue?
To be frank, I do not know.
Is it because you were participating in that broader habit that you have of not listening?
No, it is because 50% of the words which you just spewed out, I don't understand the meaning of.
Which words?
Oof, you said so many that
so you weren't listening.
Forgot.
Cool.
Well, of course, you speak 100 miles an hour, but this is being recording, so I will.
Why haven't you asked me to slow down at any point then if I'm speaking too quickly?
Slow down when you are speaking at the point in which you speak out the word salad, which is so long and with such a technical philosophical words that they are indistinguishable from one another.
I also don't know how you're calling them like technical, or like saying that these words are like obfuscating any meaning.
Is not a word which is commonly used.
When we've already discussed everything that I mentioned in like that previous description of this conversation, we'd already discussed all those topics, and then now you're saying that they're obtuse and they lack meaning. That seems exceptionally bad faith.
No, I meant just your last sentence.
Okay, so to describe this conversation thus far.
Okay.
I said that we need to understand metaphysics in order to understand ethics. Then you agreed at a later point in the conversation
I said that and this is because I said that I'm not well versed in metaphysics, and I did not find it necessary to understand.
What was I about to say?
And you were probably about to say that I admitted that having metaphysical baggage, and I said, yes, I'm not well versed in metaphysical, but I'm certain that
the thing I was going to say was that you agreed that you adhere to a type of ideology.
Well, if you use the ideology as that, probably I do.
Okay, yeah, as I said, you've already agreed to it.
Yeah.
And then this is the point where I say that you agreed that you didn't have a good understanding of metaphysics.
I don't.
Yeah, and then I say how we agreed that you probably have some type of metaphysical baggage.
I probably do.
Yeah, and I'm saying that metaphysical baggage, in relationship to the ideology, so the combination of those two things, is maligning your understanding of ethics.
Okay, show me how.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do, but you don't listen to me. That's how I've gotten to this. That's how I've gotten to this point of disagreement.
Okay.
With you trying to falsely equate emotional and social relationships to metaphysical relationships, when the entire time all I've been talking about is metaphysical relations.
Well, you cannot talk with me about metaphysical relationship because I do not understand them.
And that was sort of like the purpose of trying to talk about process philosophy before, like understanding that a human is a system of relationships, and that then we as humans engage in bigger systems and bigger processes. And this is what I'm meaning when I'm describing like the relationships between things, like the interactions, the functions that things have onto one another. Like, do you agree that things affect other things?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So that would be, at its most base level, a type of metaphysical relationship. And the type that I'm primarily interested in. And so with that in mind, as it relates to understanding good and bad as an adverb, I don't understand how you can say that we can't understand the relationship between human institutions and non-human animals as good. Like, I don't understand how you can land on any conclusion other than bad.
Well, because I prefer to eat animals. And for me, eating animals is good.
Why would your preferences matter?
Of course, they matter to me.
No. Why? You can't just assert it dogmatically. You need a reason.
I just did. I mean, you can. If I can say,
you agree? You don't have a
look. I can say. It's probably ridiculous to. I can say, I have biological. I have biological. How do I don't know this incentive, physical, biological, biochemical incentive to the taste of meat. I have sociological.
Well, hang on. Why do you think it's biological and not socially constructed?
Because our our biology was, of course, it was not created for us to eat meat. It evolved this through rare
No, I'm
mutations.
specifically talking about your personal taste preference.
Oh yeah, my taste preferences are influenced by my biology. That is why I like sweet things. That is why I like umami flavor. That is why I like these things, and why I dislike things which are extremely sour, which are extremely bitter, and so on.
Hang on, why is that not socially constructed though? Because there are groups of humans who culturally consume exceptionally bitter things and exceptionally spicy things, and because that's a cultural norm, their taste palette just develops to that.
Yeah, there is also people who.
Yeah, so it's not a biological disposition; it's a social disposition.
It is a mix, and it is also a reason why there are particular people who cut parts of their baby penises. That is a social thing.
Yeah, so I don't get why you're appealing to just the biological part, and you're trying to treat why is the biological part as normative, but the social isn't?
Sorry, none of it is normative. Both are descriptive.
But then, what does that have to do with your preferences? If your preferences aren't normative?
Oh, you mean yeah, my preferences are normative, and their preferences can be
why?
Because I need to make not that I need to make a decision, but I'm wired to make a decision, and that is how I make a decision.
So hang on, I'm confused. Do you agree that your preferences are arbitrary and baseless? Outside of the given social relations that you're in?
Well, not just social relations. I do not.
No, sorry, the metaphysical relations. My bad. Metaphysical relations.
Well, you just named to me one part of metaphysical relation, and that is that one thing is influenced another. And I would certainly agree that one thing influences another, and that I'm influenced by different things. And those things can be internal and external.
Yeah, and the thing is, because we have this understanding of affects is how we get to prescriptions. So, to say that a member of say a remote Inuit community should not consume a papaya salad made in a traditional Thai manner would be because like their experience of the intense like spiciness of it would cause them exceptional pain. Like we can make that prescription. We don't need
Well,
preferences.
we can make it.
to-
I would certainly not make it.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not interested in like your desire or your willingness or the
Of course,
frequency at
you're
which you make
interested in my
prescriptions.
desires. You're interested in why I'm not a vegan.
Oh, yeah, no. I'm specifically talking about the willingness and frequency from which you would make prescriptions. I'm asking you why, from this like structure that I've presented to you in this discussion, I cannot make prescriptions. Why it is untrue for me to make prescriptions.
Well, you can make prescriptions. I just don't put any value on them.
Yeah,
Uh,
cool. I don't care about your feelings. I'm glad that we agree though that prescriptions are meta-ethically possible.
well, as I said, I don't understand mathematics, so probably they are.
Okay, sweet. So then we can start
I mean,
discussing.
you can say you can jump off the building. You can also say you should jump off the building. I mean, this is nothing stopping you from doing that.
Yeah, those would be bad prescriptions.
Well, that would be that wouldn't be aligned with my preferences, but you can certainly make them.
Well, your preferences don't matter.
Well, of course they don't matter. I mean, your preferences do not matter to me.
Yeah, good, awesome. I'm glad you agree. This is great.
Great. I think we are getting somewhere finally.
Oh, okay. So now that we have an understanding of good and bad as adverbs and how we can get from descriptive statements to prescriptive statements, how can we ever prescribe like animal consumption?
I don't know. I
As a
don't deal in
thing,
prescriptions.
Okay, so then how can you negate a prescription of animal consumption being unethical?
Well, I can say that with my understanding of ethics, it is untrue.
Why is it untrue?
Because okay, now I need to now I need to explain my view of ethics, which is descriptive, and I already alluded to it. But I think it comes from evolutionary trait, and I don't see how and why or any
But you just agreed that
environmental
biology doesn't
influence.
have normativity.
What?
You just agreed that like biology alone isn't adequate to establish normativity.
Of course, and
So why are you bringing up biology now? Like why are you reasserting it after you've already like conceded on it?
because it is crucial to my understanding of ethics.
So shouldn't you be saying that your understanding of ethics is wrong then?
No, I think your understanding of ethics is wrong and unexpected
Well, no.
to the world.
So hang on, if you're saying that our preferences are biologically constructed, like you simultaneously need to say that like they are they're metaphysically constructed, realistically. Like if you want to have like the highest fidelity like position, you need to say that it's metaphysically constructed. But the relationships that would construct that, like would still have like normativity implicitly in them when we understand good and bad as like adverbs.
Okay, I think I just lost you now. So can you repeat that last thing so I can do a more adequate response?
Yeah, so I feel like you are going to be bound to agree that biology alone isn't adequate for establishing preferences, and that in virtue of that, we are going to need to rely on types of metaphysical relationships, like the types of affects done unto us to understand preferences. And it's in that acknowledgement of the affects done unto us that those affects, when we understand good and bad as adverbs, have an implicit normativity about them, those affects as relationships.
Okay, I think I understand now. So let's step away from humans now and let's go to a more simpler organism. Some one cell.
And why are we stepping away from humans now? We've worked so hard to get to ethics. Why are we running away from ethics now?
Because humans did not just appear out of the blue, right? And I want this
Yeah,
to...
everything's caused.
I want to illustrate my position a bit. So, you have, or not just you, basically any living organism, has genes. Genes were, at the beginning, of course, created simply by accident, billions of years ago, and through random mutations, they diverged, right? And those genes govern our behavior. And
what's the argument for genes governing behavior? And what do you mean by governing?
Okay. Slow down. It is not as jumping from one point to another. There are steps in between. So let me explain.
Okay, fine. Sure.
Okay, sure, great. So, you are, quote-unquote, programmed to react differently to different stimuli in the environment. That is why those gene mutations, for the most part, stick, because they provided you with advantage to reproduce. So, because you are predisposed genetically to produce a certain behavior towards a certain stimuli from the environment, right? That means that normatively genetics governs your behavior, right?
Yeah, I see no reason to accept this.
Okay, why not?
Yeah, cool. So, genes themselves, like, how does a gene govern something?
The genes governs everything from the way your brain formed.
No.
To the way...
Tell me how.
How do you need? Okay, did you take high school biology?
I actually fucking skipped fucking biology in high school. Fuck that. I hated science. I took literature.
I can see that.
I'm glad you can see that. But I'd love for you to explain like how genes enforce normativity onto a given like individual.
Well, would you care to give me an example of normative behavior so I don't have to think of one?
Yeah, so like just a behavior that functions in line with the proposition. Like, so I am drinking a cup of tea. Like that is a description of a normative behavior.
Okay.
Like, so like a proposition would be like, I ought drink the tea. Why should I drink the tea? Because it's delicious.
And why is it delicious?
And so on and so on. Because it was expertly made.
No, it is because it is, and of course I don't know, I cannot say what particular form of tea you prefer, but there is, of course, you are a human, which is a very complex being, but you can say that tea is used for hydration. Tea, and of course there is, if cell is not properly hydrated, it sends through that information to the core of the cell, which contains genes, which then trigger other parts of the cell to send information to the different cell that it requires hydration.
I'm not drinking the tea because I'm thirsty. I'm drinking
the tea part of it. Second part
I'm actually a little bit too well hydrated. I actually need to go to the bathroom.
And second, okay, do you want to go? Do you want to have a pause now or in a few minutes?
Yeah, let's take an intermission.
Okay, sure.
Hey, Conan.
Yeah.
Having an intermission, if I may offer something, it may be beneficial to explain to Csypher your morality is purely descriptive. Because I think he's saying normativity with the idea that you're in some sort of ought statements or prescriptions.
Yeah, I
based
think
on-
I think I said this couple of times that I'm pure descriptive, but he I think he does not believe that prescriptivism exists. But of course, that is straw manning, and I will not discuss it with him not present.
Yeah, it's I think even though you did say that, I'm not sure if maybe he heard it or if he really understood what you meant by that or what that entailed. I really do think that's something you guys should go over just for the sake of the discussion, so you're not equivocating.
Okay, then I would ask you to when he comes back to.
I'm back.
Okay, Zoom is more than he wants to point something out in this intermission.
All right, so Cipher, you said that Conan is discussing normativity, that there's normativity baked into statements, and that his position entailed that. But I do want to clarify that Conan's position is actually purely descriptive. He doesn't have any ought statements, or
Well, no,
that's
no.
how he.
I understand that's what he's
Good,
claiming.
good.
But yeah. But what I'm saying is that there's a misalignment between what he's saying and the entailments of like his other commitments.
Yeah, I
So
understand.
like
I understand. I think uh, Zoom was
yeah.
Zoom did not
So
understand it.
yeah. So Zoom, just to, like really clarify. Like when we are describing relations between things, that like when we can make an observation of like function and function as being like better or worse, good or bad, then that is where the normativity is baked into the description. Does that make sense?
Okay. Okay, so you think that even though Conan is maybe claiming that them is purely descriptive, there just is inherently prescriptions in it, even if he claims there
Yeah.
aren't.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair enough. You guys can carry on then. I just wanted to clarify you were all on the same page of how you were using these terms and everything.
Yeah.
I'll be quiet now, and you guys can continue.
So we were in tea, even though
We were talking about genes governing things,
yeah,
and I'm
yeah,
drinking my tea.
with
It's tasty, not because
the
it's
example of tea. Yeah. Also, the tea is probably sweet. Do you think sweet tea?
No. I drink relatively like dry teas. I don't put sugar in my teas. I drink like herbal and floral teas. This one is an oolong tea with a couple of rose petals in it. It's very nice.
Yeah, tea is not my expertise. So, other things is that I think we were done with hydration. There is also, of course, drinking tea is very complex complex example. There is also, of course, let's ignore sweetness, but different tastes, of course, trigger different receptacles for which, of course, are genetically programmed to exist. And they serve a function, but we don't need to go into what is that function. But when they are triggered, they send information to genetics, because of course everything comes down to genetics. And they send information to the brain, which again uses genetic to decode information and pass it through and basically make a decision. Not necessarily that they make a decision to drink tea or not. They offer a tiny bit of information which is then conglomerated into making a decision. It will be much easier to discuss a pea situation than drinking tea situation. And of course, there is also a part that you are programmed to act in accordance with social expectations, and that is probably why you choose tea and not some other beverage. And not social expectations don't need to be very broad, but they can be smaller.
Yeah, but the thing is, the reason why I bought a teapot in the first place was due to like social commitments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And why do you care for social commitments? I think it comes down that you are genetically a social animal. Of course, it is a very broad statement, but it comes down to that.
Like, sure, we can say like there are genetic elements of like every like affect. That's fine. I'm a physicalist.
Yeah.
I have no issue saying that there are genetic elements to all affects, but to say that genetics govern normativity, that is a very different statement.
Well, govern is they build a prerequisite for basically they build everything that does make decisions normatively, right?
They build everything that does make sense.
Yeah.
Well, no,
Of
I
course they do.
disagree. Your context does.
Well,
Your context sets the boundaries for
no.
the normative actions you can take.
When you begin, you are a zygote. You have complete genetic information of you, right? And that zygote
Yeah, but
matures
that zygote had a cause.
Yeah,
that zygote is a cause from an affect.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
And the life is caused from the effect. And the universe is caused from the effect.
Yeah. And so what I'm saying is that you shouldn't be drawing like this boundary for normativity at genetics. You should be drawing it at like the process of affects and causes.
Yeah, but okay, so we can so we should go back to current theory of Big Bang, right?
Look, frankly, it doesn't bother me like how far we want to go back. Like even if we get to a point where like we can't know anymore. Like even if we want to say there was something before the Big Bang, and that the Big Bang had a mover that caused it. Like I'm happy to bite like the bullet on like Spinoza or like Whitehead's God if like I'm compelled to that point, or if we're going to be satisfied with just saying we're at a limit of contemporary human knowledge.
Yeah,
I'm satisfied with infinitivism.
Yeah, but I would say that if we go back down to everything has a cause, and we go to Big Bang, and let's agree, just for the sake of the argument, that there is nothing before the Big Bang, and I would say that Big Bang has very little impact. Of course, you can say that it has a crucial impact on my life, but it does not really have a function in my decision making, as do my genes do. So that is where I would like to focus.
but and that's the thing. I'm saying that you're stopping at genes like pretty arbitrarily, and that you should be engaging in like a pluralism of like valuing what influences and dictates your decision making. Because it's not just your genes; it's the genes of others. It is the visual phenomena that occurs between your genes and other people's genes. There is the things that occur that you don't see, the interactions of other people that you're not present for. Like currently, there is someone in the room next to my apartment, and they are engaging in a behavior that may dictate or influence my behavior, and that has nothing to do with my genes.
Oh, it very much does have to do with your genes, because whatever you are what your genes made you to, and you have you are prerequisition to react to the stimuli of the environment.
I don't know why I would accept that. Like, I'm telling you that there are things that are not related to my genes that influence how my body, how my mind reacts to things. So, like, my issue is that you're saying that the genes are the source of normativity, when I'm saying that context, the thing that our genes are reacting to, is the source of normativity.
Do you understand that genes are what give you context?
So, hang on, are you saying that context is predicated on genes?
Well, it is predicated on mind, which is predicated on gene. Right? If we look at humans.
Wait, what do you... Like, you're a physicalist, aren't you? You're a materialist?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, I just, like, saying mind there seemed a bit weird to me, because I'm fine with, like, just treating, like, mind as a physical genetic process. Like, that's fine. But no, like, my issue is that like how I interface with things. Yeah, sure, it's all through biological functions. That's fine, but there are things that are not my biological functions that influence my biological functions.
Yeah, of course they are.
Yeah, and so it's a process. And that's what I'm getting at. I'm saying that these external affects on my genetics is the cause of normativity.
Yes,
not
exactly. Exactly what you said right now. Others influence your genetically your genetic prerequisitions, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. So our context influences our genes, and therefore normativity comes from our context, our affects.
You get stimuli from the outside, which is processed by your genes, and your genes make a decision, basically.
Yeah, well, just because of the connotations of like the word genes with certain far right groups, I'd prefer if we say like biological processes.
I assure you, I'm not a far right.
No. I wasn't trying. I wasn't trying to accuse you of anything.
I think genes are more accurate than biological processes.
I'm not trying to accuse you of anything like untoward. It's just that like the accent and the word genes, hearing it over and over again, I'm having flashbacks to listening to that JF guy talk, and I'm not saying you two are similar by any measure. Oh man, no. So like we are our biological processes. I have no issue with that. And if we agree that our context influences and dictates, like, or at least affects, our context affects our biological processes, and then our biological processes are an expression back onto our context. Yeah, that's fine. I would still consider that, like, for there to be normativity baked in there.
I would agree that there is a normativity baked into that. That is, I think you'll understand now how I make decisions.
Yeah, so I don't see like why you're not a naturalist. I guess what's your issue with moral naturalism?
My issue with moral naturalism is that, from what I read of moral naturalism, is they encourage people to behave what they perceive to be natural behavior. I don't think that there is such a thing which is quote unquote natural behavior. Every single form of behavior is natural.
Yeah, no. So, like, naturalism is the idea that good and bad is natural.
Yeah,
not that there is like an implicit natural behavior.
Look, usually I stay clear from use of the words good and bad because they have implications, as you probably are aware. And and I think that whenever I can, I stay clear from them. If it's a flick of the tongue if I said good or bad, because I try to avoid it. I actually, in debates of morality, I prefer moral, amoral, and immoral as more accurate, because good and bad, I think, are inherently linked to my preferences. And as you probably I know it from you, I don't put much objective value on my preferences. It doesn't mean that they are not there and that they are not important to me. I just say that they are important just to me.
Yeah, but so what about better and worse? Can we use better and worse instead? Because I think moral and immoral,
also
no, because my issue. Because I want to explain my issue with like im, and moral.
Okay, great.
Because like that is treating it as like a noun. It's not able to treat it as an adverb, which like is what like moral naturalism would dictate. Me as a naturalist, like that is what I would assert, that it is an adverb. It is like a description of a relationship. It's a description of an effect.
Okay, we can go with preferable or unpreferable.
Rationally desirable, rationally undesirable.
Well, that implies that is another point which I talk to perspective philosophy. ration is again predicated on some prior assertions. For instance, he put it out the case of that French king who thought he was made out of glass, and and he said it would be irrational for him to clean himself with Windex. And I think that it would be a rational thing to do if you believe that you are made out of glass. So and he said that that person is mentally ill and not rational. I think the person is rational if they clean themselves with Windex if they believe they are made out of glass. That is a rational behavior.
So then this is where like epistemology plays into ethics, because like I don't see like how any like epistemological position of merit could justify saying that the individual is made out of glass.
Well, it was more of an example that our understanding of what is reasonable or not reasonable is predicated on our understanding of what we know is true and what we do not know is true. If we do not know if we are made of glass or we are not made of glass, it is if we ignore that and we say King Philip is made of glass, glass is cleaned with, of course it's not perfect, but I'm just influencing, I'm not very good at making prepositions. Glass is cleaned with, glass should, I say to put should into it, glass should be cleaned with Windex. The regular conclusion is King Philip should be cleaned with Windex, right?
Yeah, so like we can just construct basically just modus ponens.
Yeah,
and we can plug in the variables, but like and see this is why like epistemology and metaphysics are important for ethics, because we need to be able to validate the truthfulness, like the justification of the or the understanding of the variables, like to actually say that a given proposition is true. Like that's like sort of been my entire point. Like logical validity doesn't necessarily tell us anything about the world.
Yeah, I agree, and that's why I'm quite reprehensive use the words rational. But we can certainly agree that let's say for the purpose of this discussion, let's just use it and see how it goes.
Yeah, and so we can work from this, because like what I want to get at is like what I said at the start of our conversation is that I don't think you adequately understand animals and our relationships, affects to them.
Okay, let's go to that. What do you think? What are the relationships which I do not understand?
Yeah, so I don't think you're not acknowledging our. So I agree, the complex affect that we have, or a complex set of affects that we have onto animals. But it's the instrumentalization of these animals, and it's the killing of them, and treating them as though they do not have ends in and of themselves.
Well,
and
I don't believe humans have ends into of themselves, so it would be hard to say animals do. Same thing as I don't think that a rock or a planet or a sun or the universe has any law to itself. It is just a bunch of molecules colliding each other.
So when we're discussing affects, like there is an implication that things are progressing. Time is moving forward. So as long as there are forward causal relations between things, like things do have ends. So I don't understand how you can reject the idea of like ends, even in the sense like of such a base sense as consequences. Do you mean the
end of existence, or the end like end goal?
Well, the thing is, like, so as like with us understanding functions and affects as being, if not the same, at least comparable, the functions of these animals, the affects of these animals, are being subordinated, and they're not permitted to have affects of their own. Their affects are being utilized for our ends, and there's that's an unjustified relation. That's an unjustified affect.
Well, that is also like saying if you build a house out of rock, the rock is not functionally made to be a part of your house. So you are putting your function onto the rock. Ne znam, mama priča, ne mogu sad.
Well, no. What function, what affect does the rock have in and of itself?
None, same as the animal. It
How does
They
an
both
animal not have a
exist.
function?
What is the function of the animal?
Yeah, cool. So its function is to live its own life.
No,
To
it has no function.
why? What do you mean it doesn't have like?
Well, that's
What
like
has a
saying
function then?
nothing. That's like saying, well, no,
So
wait,
there is no affect.
No, actually, function is what I or what you or what anybody of us puts on any given. Of course, I know you don't like objects, but object. That's like saying the function of the rock is to sit on the ground. No, that's not the function of the rock. Rock has no function until I give it function. And the animal has no function other than what they believe to have the function.
I
which
just
is
feel like
to-
it's sort of collapsing into solipsism, though.
Well, it is possible, but I think it is more accurate than whatever you're proposing, that animals have a function and rock do not. I don't see a
Well,
difference between a
so-
rock and an animal.
So does language like have a function?
Yeah, communication.
Yeah, cool.
I mean, transfer
So-
of information.
Yeah, why would language, like a type of process, like have a function, but
Because we gave it function.
an animal? Well, hang on, how do
I mean, we did not give it function. We invented to feel a function. Language is not something. It is something other than synapses in the brain. It is something untangible. But if you say watch, okay, can we agree that watch has a function?
Yeah, watches of course have functions.
Okay, watches are just bits of metal which are given function. Before they
Well,
were
no,
put
what do you
together,
mean by
they-
given function?
Well, do cogs have function?
Yeah, of course cogs have function.
Okay, cogs have function. Do iron ingots have a function?
Yes. Everything has a function. Everything has a relation. Everything has an affect.
Okay, so does iron ore has a function?
Everything has a function. Everything
Okay,
has an
so
affect.
what is the function of iron ore?
The function of iron ore, it's like metallurgic properties. It's physiological properties. It has a very limited function.
And that is like physiological. How can properties be a function? Okay, that's probably a metaphysical question which I will not answer because I will not get into. So not answer, not ask. Don't you think that if you are using an ore, which is basically a rock, not to build a watch out of it, but to build a knife out of it? Don't you think that that would be putting a different function onto it?
Yeah, so that would
So it
be
is you
the
who gives
function
the
of the
function.
relationship. No, hold on. Because it's the function of the relationship. So when a human picks up a piece of metal, like that is the establishment of a new relationship, a new affect.
Yeah.
And so then what would be evaluating is that relation.
And when I kill an animal and eat it, it is establishing of another relation.
Yeah, so, but the thing is how that relation functions. So, like, we can have good and bad relations, because relations and functions, like, relations have functions
Well,
and functions.
when you say we have good and bad functions, it comes down to you cannot have of course. Okay, well, I have two problems with that statement, and they are different, and I would like to investigate both of them separately, if that's okay. If that's okay.
Sure.
Okay, the first one is that your previous use of good and bad, and the part that you read from a book, it didn't pertain to the function itself, but to the ability to carry out a function. So I don't know how you can attribute things. How you can attribute good and bad to a function rather than execution of the function.
I don't see a difference between like the function being present and the function progressing. Does that answer the question?
I understand, but okay, maybe now we are equivocating a bit, but I don't think that answers my question. I agree that we can, and of course you will probably agree that it is subjective, we can grade the effectiveness of any given thing, that thing being of doing a function. But how can we then say that function is good or bad? You can say that this serial killer is good at killing. If its function is killing, it is good at performing that function. But how can you say that killing is bad then?
Yeah, so the thing is, like, we wouldn't call a serial killer good because the relation of, well, the function of, like, serial murder is a bad function in relation to the social structure that it occurs within.
Okay,
it is a vicious relationship.
Okay, well, then you need to say why is vicious bad?
Oh, vicious and bad are interchangeable.
Because
I'm a virtue ethicist.
Well, that is not an explanation. You said you are a virtue ethicist. That is.
Okay, yeah, cool. So, like, if you want like a slightly more nuanced answer, I guess, like, a vicious relationship or a vicious behavior or a vicious function is committed by an agent, whereas bad can be like a description of a function outside of a given context, or a description of how it occurs when there is no relations established.
Okay,
when we just analyze.
Sorry, can you repeat that again?
Yeah.
So I think I picked on something, but I don't want to throw menu. So can you please repeat that again a bit more slowly?
So when we were talking about the watch before and the watch's function.
No, just the definition.
No. Yeah.
Explain it.
Okay. Yeah. So, like, vicious is simply a bad relation that is caused by an agent.
Well, that is...
Or bad affect.
Well, that is an insertion in there that it is bad. Why is it bad?
Yeah. Why is serial killing bad?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. So it is bad because... So this sort of goes back to teleology, which is what I was saying before. So the thing that all rational things aim at, that which is rationally desirable, is eudaimonia. And I'd assert that eudaimonia is like a harmony between all relations, and that the process of serial killing, much like a cancer cell, is contrary to eudaimonia. It's contrary to the harmony between relations, because it is about the instrumentalization and the harm and ending of other processes.
So end of a process is bad?
Sometimes.
Why sometimes and why not always?
Because if we end a vicious or bad process, then that's a good thing.
Why?
Because it's rational.
Let's say, why is it rational? Because
because we can use logic to objectify it, and it's not predicated on an individual's dispositions.
What do you mean it's not predicated on individuals' positions?
Well, so it's individuals' dispositions. It's not mind dependent. It's not arbitrary.
Well, it is.
Why?
Because you are the one who said that ending that acting towards that's why it's a bit hard to debate in VC. You cannot give an exact quote, but you said that ending that actions of the agent towards ending a function of a different agent is bad. Is that correct? Or did I, or something like that? Is that right?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Agent ending function of a different agent is bad. If that function did not end the function of the different agent and so on.
Yeah, most of the time, yeah.
Yeah, so it is dependent on the mind to say that is bad, to make that rule. That is bad.
Well, yeah, no, just because we know things that are objective subjectively, that doesn't take away from their objectivity.
I don't think that is objectively true. I think that is inaccurate explanation of our biological drives.
No, hang on. So, I don't understand. Like, do you think objectivity exists?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you agree that we can know objectivity via our own subjectivity?
Yeah.
So do objective facts become subjective when we know them?
No, I simply. Sorry, can you repeat that question? Because I already jumped into my answers.
So does objective information, like objective knowledge, facts, or understanding, whatever you prefer, become subjective when you experience that information?
I would tend to say no.
Cool. So why would that be the case?
I would simply say that your interpretation and that you believe that that this rule exists. I don't think it does exist. I think it was made up by Aristotle. And that is inaccurate. And that is inaccurate description of the world.
Why is it inaccurate?
I think that my position that morality comes down to, because I believe that Aristotle tried to put universal rules to explain the world around him in universal rules. And while I don't have usually a problem with that, I think that the way he come to it was incorrect, and I believe that his conclusion of that is incorrect. I think.
Which of his rules have I presented, and why do you think it's incorrect?
Sorry, I was. Can you repeat the beginning of the question?
Which of his rules that I've presented do you think is incorrect?
That a moral agent breaking a function of a different moral agent, which does not break a function of a different moral agent, is somehow bad or undesirable, or whatever word you want to use. That is why we need a word for this. I don't think that is the case.
Yeah, why? And so, just so we're clear, are we talking about like the principle of double effect?
I don't know what the principle of double effect is at this point.
So, like killing a serial killer being a good action.
If I would certain, well, good. This is why I don't use the word good. I would say if that is not a punishment for his immoral action, that would be immoral. If a serial killer goes out prowling for his victim and he accidentally chooses a different serial killer and kills him, I would not call that I would call that act immoral. But if he goes out and
yeah, of course.
I'm
also a particularist.
Sorry?
I'm also a particularist. Yeah, we can construct a particular where we would agree that like killing a serial killer who is currently in the process of physically harming 3 orphans.
No. I was different. This was a different example. So there is a serial killer A who goes out in the night looking for his victim, and it just happens to be that unknowing to him, he picks a serial killer B, and he does not know that serial killer B is a serial killer. He just thinks he's a regular Joe Schmo.
Yeah.
I would not call that act morally justified.
And that actually qualifies the principle of double effect.
Sorry, I was still talking, so can you repeat again?
Yeah, that wouldn't qualify as the doctrinal principle of double effect.
Okay.
So how it's typically used is more for self-defense, and that was more the context that I meant it in.
No, okay.
And the self-defense of others.
Yeah, I was more talking about a different approach. So I would not call that serial killer morally justified in killing the other serial killer, who is also on the prowl. But they are to each other. They are not known to be as serial killers.
Yeah. Serial killing in
even
general
though
is pretty bad.
even though that serial killer under your statement would be morally justified for ending the process of the other, even though that is unknown to him. Okay, do you understand what I'm saying? So you have a serial killer A. He's on the prowl.
I agree.
B.
That's probably a bad thing.
Yeah. So and he killed. So your ethical statement just fall apart.
No, it hasn't. As I said before, I'm a particularist.
Okay, so how can you be both particularist and have virtues? Either it is always, either it is always bad, or immoral, or whatever word you want to use to.
Why?
But that is how you defined it.
No, I defined nothing in universals. What do you mean?
Okay, so didn't you? Okay, let's throw this all out and let's go back to say. Why do you think that? Why do you think that changing a function of a rock is different than changing a function of a pig?
Yeah, because the combined processes that make up a pig are adequately complex, so they have their own ends.
Who says they're adequately complex? Is it you?
So this is the process that Hegel calls the master-slave dialectic, but like post-Hegelians call recognition, and it's our ability to understand the processes of ourselves in relation to other processes, and that failing to recognize the value and the teleology of the pig is going to like augment and harm your understanding of yourself in relation to the world, and that will malign all ethical decisions you'll make because you are stuck in this master-slave dialectic in which you cannot adequately get recognition of your own prepositional place within the world.
Okay, that is a lot of big words, but if let's use more common words. I would basically disagree with it. I don't think that. I think it is prepositional in this case that functions have all out of in themselves some sort of value, and I don't think they do not. Only I prescribe anything a value.
Hang on, did you say prepositional or propositional?
I don't know anymore, but I think that there is in that statement there is an assertion. Let's use that word. I prefer it. That there is a value to processes, and well, I don't know where that value comes from. Where does that value comes from?
So, what do you take it to be when you hear the word value?
Well, I would say something that is something that has benefit or preference or emotional attachment to me.
And why do you think value is mind dependent?
Because without mind, there is nobody to value anything. Value is determined, of course, not economical value, but value is economical value as well. Value is determined by my wants towards it. Do I want it or do I not want it?
Well,
Even if I do not want it, it
Yeah,
can have a negative value. Sorry?
because I asked you why value would be mind dependent, and then you said value is mind dependent because it's mind dependent.
No, because without minds, there will be nothing to assign value.
Yeah, so that's just to say that we as agents and subjects experience the ability to understand value. We can experience the knowledge of value.
No, not that
says
to understand
nothing of-
value. It is we who create value.
Yeah, and that's what I'm asking, like, why that would be the case.
Okay, so give me something of value. And you are particular, so you could probably name something. And I know, colloquially called an object. Let's have a colloquially known object.
That's fine.
Value.
Yeah. Just as long as like you understand what I mean when I say process.
Yeah, I understand now.
Yeah. And then do you understand why I had to do that legwork in the first place?
Yeah, I think it was unnecessary,
Okay.
but okay.
That's fine. Yeah, cool. So like, well, do we even need a given particular to like ascribe value to? Like,
Yeah. Just
okay, sure. Let's say the little bird that sometimes lands on my balcony.
Okay. If you were not there, that bird would lose a part of its value, right? You would not longer be able to value looking at it.
Yeah, I wouldn't like
So it is
experience
you.
the value. I wouldn't experience the value of the
Yeah.
bird. The
So
bird has
birds
value
would
in and of
lose a
itself.
part of its value, right?
What? No. Why?
Because it would lose the value that you prescribe to it.
No, I'm not prescribing the value. The bird is valuable itself.
Why? Why is bird valuable to you?
The bird is no. What do you mean to me?
Okay, why did you name bird and not something else? Let's say it like this.
Because I can only describe to you values that I'm aware of.
And why did you use the bird and not your table?
Because I like the bird.
Why do you like the bird more than the table?
Because the bird's a complex process, so that isn't consistent. Also, both of my tables are ugly.
Yeah. Okay, so you simply value bird due to its complexity.
Well, Andy seems rather friendly. There is a plurality of reasons as to why the bird is valuable, but one of the many is that the bird is a process itself that is
Well,
like
the bird
perpetually
isn't
negating
friendly
itself
to you.
against the world.
I don't know what sort of bird it is, but it's probably not friendly to, let's say, an insect.
Yeah, probably not. The bird's probably a massive dick to insects.
Yeah. But so it is you who assigned its value of being friendly.
What? How am I? No. I'm describing the relation between me and the bird.
Yeah.
Obviously, a bird can't engage in friendship.
Yeah. If you
But
look,
The bird is non-antagonistic. The
Look.
bird engages in a non-antagonistic relationship. Is that better?
I would not say that, but okay, I would say that it is.
Hey, you don't know this bird.
Well, I would certainly say that if you were God, and not you as you like a physical object, but you as your mind, that relationship between you and the bird would not exist. And if you value relationships, then a part of the bird's value would not exist.
All I could ever value are my relations, but that bird has value in and of itself, and I don't see why
How?
the bird's value is predicated on my sensory
that
experience.
is an assertion that bird has a value on either of itself. How does it has a value in and of
Yeah.
where does this value come from?
So the value comes from the bird's own relations, the bird's relationship to its wider ecosystem.
Okay, so
Value in context.
yeah, okay. So the bird has. Let's simplify it. I don't know how to simplify it. Okay, it's eating that it shits, and from the shit grows the seeds. Just to simplify it. So it has
Base.
two relationships. Okay,
The bird is an absolute lad. Yep.
it has two relationships. why are those relationships valuable? Who prescribes them value?
Why does value need to be prescribed? Why is the existence of the relationship itself not valuable?
Well,
Because a prescription of value is just another type of relation. And I don't see how that relationship would be metaphysically different to like be causal for value to then exist, as opposed to all relationships themselves being valuable.
well, because I think that something to be valuable, it needs to be more than just existing.
Why?
Well, I would never call an, let's say, comets flying through space 50 billion light years away, made up of water, valuable.
Why? Why wouldn't you?
I don't prescribe it any value.
Yeah, but it has value itself.
Who says that?
Why does someone have to say that they're like? See, the issue is that you're sort of like presupposing a collusion here. It's a bit of a post hoc fallacy, because like you're asking me like why how the value occurs. And I'm saying the value occurs because it exists, and you're saying, well, who says that it has value? And I'm saying that no, the comet doesn't have to say that it has value because it's a comet.
Value is a judgment, and judgment is mind dependent. It needs
Why does value have
mind
to be a judgment?
judged.
Why does value have to be a judgment?
Because it is not a physical trait. Only physical traits can be.
But now you're asserting a type of dualism.
How? Well, I don't know what that means.
What is non-physical? What's non-physical?
Well, the things which are not made out of energy or matter. Well, of course, energy and matter are the same thing.
Yeah, cool. So, like, what is not physical about the world? Give me an example of something that isn't physical.
Value isn't physical.
No, value is like prepositional. We understand value through relationships of the physical.
No, yes, exactly. We, as a mind, understand it as a relationship. It doesn't necessarily.
And what do you think I said? Because I've been saying the same thing the entire time.
But wait, didn't you say that that value is not...
I'm saying that we understand value. I'm not saying that we assert value or prescribe value. I'm saying we understand value, that the value itself is there in the first place.
Okay, how can you... okay, this is a bit too philosophical for me, but I will go into... Okay, you say we understand value through our minds, right? But that value exists even though if we do not understand it. Is that correct?
Yep, 100%. Steve-O the bird is valuable regardless of me living in this apartment or the one on a floor that he can't get to.
Okay, how... Okay. Yeah, I am not the most versed person in this. Probably SD would be a better for this subjective thing. But I would certainly say that I do not think that, let's say, okay, let's take it like this. There is a universe. There is nothing in that universe except for that bird. Does that bird has value?
I'd say this is like what you're describing is metaphysically impossible. There is only one universe. There's only one world.
Oh wait, so you're not much into hypotheticals, are you?
Oh no, I hate hypotheticals.
I love hypotheticals.
Yeah, no, I think possible worlds is a little bit silly. I do my best to engage with hypotheticals as best I can, especially if they're like grounded in like my own experiences or like I've had analogous experiences. Just because I do my best to be a good interlocutor, but I think overall, I don't see how constructing hypothetical rules would translate to.
Yeah, I would say that even in that universe, the bird will still have mass, it would. But I don't know how you could say that it would have value. You can say that maybe relationships have value, even though I
Bird
would
would be the
disagree.
only value.
Well, it wouldn't be the value because if the bird it's well, you would probably value internal relationship within the bird, but yeah, I don't see a reason why. What is my benefit to prescribing, even if we agree for the purpose of this discussion, which that relationships have value, even though I don't think they do have value. And of course, you cannot prove that they have value. You can only think that they have value. It is not.
Well, we theorize.
Yeah,
It's
we
value
theorize,
theory.
but I don't
Yeah,
know
it's
how
value
you could
theory.
how you could prove it, that theory. So I would certainly say that even for the purpose of this discussion, because we won't be here to explore ideas, I would say, okay, we can say that they have value, but I do not see how they are more valuable than any other relationship. Why is the relationship that bird has with the insect and the plant that it shits on more valuable than the bird has the relationship with me eating it?
Oh, cool. So I
Yes,
can
I
explain
Very
how
much
we value different types of relations. Well, sorry, how we understand the value
Oh, great,
of
let's do
different
that.
types of relations.
Yeah,
Yeah, cool. So the relationship between the bird and the insect is a type of vicious relation. It's instrumentalizing the worm. It's sad, but fortunately for the bird, he's not a moral agent, or at least he doesn't seem like it. And as it relates to disseminating seeds, that's a really good relation because it propagates the flourishing, the harmony of all other relations within the ecosystem. And the relation of you intervening and consuming poor old Steve-O, he's a little fella. He doesn't have much meat on him.
It's just an example.
Yeah. But I'll sort you out if you touch Steve-O, all right? But no, you eating Steve-O leads to his process being terminated and all of his relations being terminated. And it is not in a way like Steve-O wasn't harming the harmony of all other relations in a way that would justify you ending his process.
Well, neither did my disturb any quote-unquote harmony.
Yes, you did. You stopped Steve-O from disseminating seeds.
So Steve-O did the same thing. What's the difference? I mean,
what do you mean?
Steve-O ended the function of the insects. What is the difference?
Yeah, that's bad. I don't like that Steve-O ends insect functions.
Yeah, and also, if Steve-O is not a bird eater, if he's a plant eater, he ended the function of a plant.
Yeah, and that is far less vicious than ending the process of an insect.
Why?
Because of how we understand the processes of animals. The appearance of a mind within animals, the appearance of animals being choosers or having preferences, or the ability to interface within the world, the complexities of their processes, and their ability to have more complex relations with us implies that when we engage in a type of recognition with them, there is like almost a bare minimum propositional, not propositional, relationship that we need to understand them on, in the sense of recognition.
Yeah, I still do not see any difference between these different types of relationships. I really don't. I don't see a difference between ending a life of a plant and ending a life of the insect or smashing a rock.
So it's all about how it relates to other relations. It's structuralism.
I mean,
cause and effect. So
you
doing that, you being the cause of that effect, and that effect like having negative effects on other relations' abilities to affect themselves in a positive way and other relations in a positive way.
Well,
when you were,
That, of course, that is look. If I eat Steve-O, I would get energy and I would poop. Those are also two processes.
What's your point?
I mean, there is no difference.
Sorry, what? No difference between what?
There is. I don't see any meaningful difference between Steve-O eating a plant and me eating Steve-O. And what's the difference?
Hang on. How can you assert any type of similarity?
Well, I'm not saying I simply don't see it. What's the difference?
Yeah. So there's one massive difference in that you're a human eating another animal, a fellow creature, and
So,
Steve-O is just munching on some seed pods.
yeah. So why should we stop at any given what is let's say objective value of stopping at any given different level of I think it's taxonometry 3. Why do we stop at kingdoms, and why don't we stop at domains or genus?
Oh no, that's a great question, and I'd say at each one of those levels, and probably with a field of difference on either side, we probably should be accommodating various ways, but moral islands do exist. So when Steve eats a seed pod and then disseminates the seeds, he is taking something from the plant, and teleologically speaking, seeds are designed to be disseminated.
No, okay.
The function of a seed is to be disseminated.
Yeah, let's not say that Steve-O is because
what? Because it proves my point.
no, because it is a very convenient example. But
What do you mean? Yeah, it's convenient because it proves my point because it's teleological in its function.
No, it is because Steve-O is because no, look, it is because the plants evolved in conjunction with birds and they exploit the birds, right? For dissemination.
How do they exploit birds?
For spreading of the seeds, right?
But how is it exploitative?
Well, they exploit it as a
where's
resource.
the lack of recognition?
As a resource, even though they are not cognitive, they are driven by genetics, and those genetics take advantage of course, not literally, but they take advantage of birds' existence.
Why are you reifying the plants in this way? What do you mean they're taking advantage of the bird's existence? How can you say it's taking advantage and not that they are a biological process that is being co-symbiotic or harmonious with the birds?
Even in symbiotic, there is the advantage, right? You take advantage of, for instance, the hermit crab, and I think that is in all textbooks. The hermit crab and whatever that is stingy. How do you say it in English? Not jellyfish, but I don't know.
Cuttlefish?
Sorry? No, not cuttlefish. Cuttlefish. Let's. So, okay, let's pick fruit. Fruit is a very good example of symbiotic relationship, right?
Yep, awesome.
Yeah.
Love fruit.
So, the plant exploits the eater of the fruit for dissemination.
No. Why are you trying to present the plant as an agent that can exploit?
It's not that because to a certain degree they are an agent. Why do plants have fruits? Fruits are very.
No. How is a plant an ethical or moral agent?
I do not say that they're ethical or moral agent. They're simply an actor upon the world, right?
Yeah, but you're at least implying that there's some type of recognition a plant does, as opposed to just plant as process simpliciter.
How do you mean process simplicity? That is a new term.
The plant is a process.
Yeah, well, according to you, everything is a process. So what's the difference?
Oh yeah, brother, let's go.
I said according to you.
I know. I'm just glad you get it.
Of course, I get it. You opened with that. I'm listening to you.
It's wonderful. So the plant is a process. How can something that is just a process that doesn't have like a process that can instrumentalize or fail to recognize in its instrumentalization another, how can that engage in exploitation? How can a plant exploit something?
Well, is baking a bread a process?
Hang on, how is baking bread analogous to a plant?
Well, both are processes, right?
Everything's a process, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
So baking a bread is a process, and it takes and it exploits the heat for its completion.
yeah, and so is me taking swimming lessons when I was 6.
Yeah,
Like, what's your
you were
point?
exploiting water
How?
for the swimming lesson. Look,
Can you define exploitation for me?
yeah, use of resource.
What do you mean by use?
Use of resource. I mean,
Yeah,
use. To be frank, I did not lately look up the meaning of the word use, but colloquially, I would say it pertains to. Let me think of a definition. I'm very rarely asked to define such words, such common words. I would say that use is. Can you be? I don't want to open Google because I'm recording. Can you please go on Google and
sure.
put in the meaning of the word use? Use meaning.
Yeah, just give me 2 seconds. So the first is take, hold, or deploy something as a means of accomplishing a purpose or achieving a result.
Yeah, we can go with that. I agree with that definition.
Okay, sure. Yeah. So, and how is like when you say resource, like what do you mean by like resource?
Well, let's use the Google again.
Okay, cool. Resource. So that's the finance definition. We don't want that. And these definitions suck. Okay, the first one is a stock or supply of money, materials, staff, or other assets that can be drawn on by a person or organization in order to function effectively.
Well, we can get the idea from that definition. It is something that is necessary for the completion of a process. Let's say it like that. The process.
Yeah, cool. So I just don't understand like why you would define exploitation like that, because if we pull up exploitation, the act or fact of treating someone, or in our case something or a given process, unfairly in order to benefit from their work. So there is an implicit unfairness with exploitation, and that's why I don't think your definition is adequate.
Well, that is not the definition that I was accustomed to using. I am an economist and we used it differently. We use it exploitation as a use of a resource, and I think I stated that here.
Yeah. I'm familiar with the like the business definition and the economics definition, but I don't know why we'd take that definition over a more ordinary language one.
Well, can you give me a better? Can you give me a better word for the term of which would describe a term of usement of resource?
Well, we have different modes of use, so we can just say that they're using an input.
Okay,
I'm not even
not
super thrilled with the word resource.
The only problem of use of resource is that it is 2 words and it is shorter to use 1.
Yeah, but like I feel like this is probably something we should be pretty specific with.
Let's say it like this: plants use birds as a resource, right?
Why do they use them and why don't they cooperate with them?
Well, even if cooperation, they cooperate because they get use from each other, right?
But this goes back to what I said at the start about how I think you're operating under a lens of capitalist realism, where you're seeing everything in the lens of a cost-benefit analysis. Everything as like through like capitalistic terms, and that everything is reducible to the functions of a business. It's business ontology.
Well, I maybe use the business language, but and I fully admit to it. I'm educated economist, but and I'm of course have biases. But I think
Yeah, I also went to postgrad business school.
even
I said that at the start.
even if we disagree on the terminology, the fact still stands that birds eat fruit, and is that a fact? I think we can agree that it is.
Yep, you're describing the relationship as a process. Yep.
Yeah.
Which is fucking based, good stuff.
And do plants grow fruit? To that fruit be eaten by the bird? To simplify it, they do.
Mm-hmm.
Is there of course not intention? They don't have intentions as such, but is the, let's say, the end goal for the bird to eat that, or for the seed to go away from the mother plant? I think it is the end goal is for the seed to go away from the mother plant.
It's a variable. Why can't it be both?
Oh God. It is both, but the end of the process of spreading seeds is not the bird eating the fruit or the seed, fruit with the seed. Fruit is just an incentive, because the seed cannot grow inside the bird. It needs to be pooped. And
yeah, it's almost like the two processes, the process of the bird and the process of the plant, are cooperating.
Yeah.
It's symbiotic.
Well,
there is nothing unfair about it. Neither is being treated as an
symbiotic. Look, symbiotic is our judgment of the relationship. It is not something that is, of course, predatory is also a type of relationship, but I do not see predatory relationships as inherently bad. Only, as you said, probably circumstances would. I would not use the word bad. I would use personally undesirable, immoral, or whatever would be recognized as bad. Not by the relationship itself, because there is no difference in those two relationships into itself. It is just a word that we give to describe a particular type of relationship, and there is no. I don't see a value judgment made between those two. They are both equally valuable. Because if a process is valuable, the end result of the process is equally valuable.
Well, no, because remember the context.
Sorry, there is no end to the process. Process is continuous.
Yeah, but so the ends that all processes operate within is eudaimonia. Like that's that.
Well, that is an assertion.
All processes should be aiming.
Why should they be aiming to it? Why should they be aiming to it?
Because it's rational. Because it's the logically and rationally desirable outcome.
How? Explain it to me. I don't see it.
Oh, I think Aristotle would say it best in his own words. Give me 2 seconds. I can pull it up for you. For the amount that I quote this, I should have it saved somewhere else. Alrighty.
And read it slowly so I can pick on every single word.
I'll tell you what. I'll even copy and
copy in VC text so it can be shown on the recording.
Gladly. Right, got it here, and where's my trackpad going? Okay, copy and paste. There we go.
Oh shit, it's small. Wait, let me enlarge it.
Every art and every inquiry, and similarly, every action and pursuit is thought to aim at some good. And for this reason, the good has rightly been declared to be that to which all things aim. But a certain difference is found among ends. Some are activities, others are parts apart from the activities that produce them. Where there are ends apart from the actions, it is the nature of the products to be better than the activities. Now, as there are many actions, arts, and sciences, their ends are also many. The end of the medical art is health, that of shipbuilding a vessel, that of strategy victory, that of economics wealth. But where such arts fall under a single capacity, as bridle making and all other arts concerned with the equipment of horses fall under the art of writing, and this and every military action under strategy, in the same way other arts fall yet under others. In all these ends, the master arts are to be preferred to all subordinate ends, for it is for the sake of the former that the latter is pursued. For it makes no difference whether the activities themselves are the ends of the actions or are something else apart from the activities, as in the case of the sciences just mentioned.
Okay, and where does it says that birds eating seeds is good and me eating birds is bad?
So no. This is about teleology. So understanding that affects have things like affects occur in a context of aiming at some good, and that there is a notion of the good, like the end of all ends.
Yeah, I don't believe that there is end to all ends, and I don't think. Okay, so this is a bit long, and I would not and to contemplate this will take a few minutes, and I don't want to have that big of a pause in our discussion. So, can you summarize this? What did Aristotle meant by this statement?
Yeah, so just what he means is that we do actions to achieve something, and that all of our achievements culminate in a sense like a type of end achievement. And what I'm asserting that end achievement is through a process ontological understanding and reading of Aristotle, is he said it was eudaimonia, and the idea of eudaimonia is an all-encompassing flourishing or happiness, and that what we can understand that to be, given contemporary metaphysics and scientific advances, would be a type of harmony between all relations, all affects. Does that make sense?
Well, it partially makes sense. So let's go back to Aristotle and Pandemonia. So he wants to do what? Can you repeat again?
Yeah, so
let's ignore the modern things. Let's just want to see what Aristotle wants.
So Aristotle said that eudaimonia was the end of all ends, the idea of an all-encompassing flourishing or happiness.
Okay. Good. Of all-encompassing, of everything.
I believe he limited it at human subjects.
I mean, yeah, I know that he limited it to humans. He did not see animals as anything other than colloquially objects.
And also his metaphysics were grounded in like essence and form.
Some things that do not exist, but okay.
Well, no, it's more like there were like descriptions or like semantics to describe specific types of relations. It's interesting, and there's been interesting contemporary work on it. I'm not necessarily against that, but I take a radical reading of it if we are to apply it.
Yeah, and so you think that it's this thing that Aristotle, how did you pronounce it? This
teleology?
No, not teleology. This not on D. So this end of all ends.
Mm-hmm. Oh, eudaimonia.
Oh yeah, eudaimonia. That's not a very common word. Sorry.
It's Greek.
Yeah.
Eudaimonia.
Yeah, eudaimonia. Okay. So, how do you think, with our modern understanding of the world, does that imply to who?
Yeah. So there were a handful of big breakthroughs after the 17th century. One was Spinoza's metaphysics, and that's basically the idea of the world as one big rhizomatic process, and that the world itself, like I sort of already mentioned it, like the first mover and all movement from the first mover being fundamentally linked. So Spinoza's metaphysic is a really important grounding for
Hey,
how we
mama!
understand eudaimonia.
Mama!
Also, Hegel's concept of recognition. So how we understand ourselves prepositionally. So, like, as it relates to like grammar, as a noun in relation to
Hello?
other nouns.
Nemo spravi.
How we understand ourselves prepositionally, and the
Neću
prepositional
još, sad već samo
implications
spravi.
of our relations to other moral patients is
Pusti me, ovo je
exceptionally
zanimljivo.
important to how we understand eudaimonia. And from what I've read thus far on recognition theory and on the master-slave dialectic, I see no reason to disqualify animals in a meaningful way from this, and that there could be a type of recognition that ought to occur with plants as it relates to their instrumentalization, and even to perhaps minerals. But I would treat these as moral islands, discrete and distinct from animals. Does that make sense?
Yeah, even though I don't see how you would make an island out of animals and not out of just humans, but okay, I would certainly say that there is another big discovery, and that is a theory of evolution. And I think it shines a light on the true relationship between objects or between processes or whatever.
Mhm.
And I think that it basically negates much of what was stated before, including
Okay,
this
why?
pandemonia. Because that would if pandemonia is the end, that would imply that evolution has an end.
Yeah, why would evolution not like have an end? Why would evolution not be subject to teleology?
Do you think it does?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, so I cannot see how evolution would have an end.
Well, presumably it would be when organisms stop changing.
Well, they only can stop changing if all life is destroyed.
And so also when we say end, what we're talking about isn't like a completion or a closing of a set, but rather that which it's oriented towards. Does that make sense?
Well, as Aristotle said, the end of strategy is winning wars, right? So
Yeah.
there is an end. And
Oh yeah. And so the end of Oh, if that's what you mean, then the end of evolution would be eudaimonia.
So how that would mean that evolution has ended.
Well, no, it'd mean that everything would evolve to a perfect state to be in harmony with one another as biological organisms.
Okay, so in that case, what we have now is eudaimonia.
Why would we have eudaimonia now?
Why
makes you
would
think
we
we're in
have
harmony
it
now?
not now, and why would we have it at any different point of time? Why do you think that
Yeah.
we would have it in the future that we don't have it now?
Actually,
If there is no time beginning or the end of it is now.
so eudaimonia is just a state of relations, and I would say that this our current context experiences too many bad relations, too many relations that
Yeah, but it is you who say that there are islands, and Aristotle agreed that there were islands. So it is not that everybody's happiness is included, and not like and not even that happiness is like actual happiness. It is just harmony, and today there is harmony. With me eating animals, there is harmony.
No, there isn't.
How there
Because you're
isn't?
instrumentalizing the animals. The
Yes.
animals are not in harmony in relation to you, silly.
Yeah, they are. They are fulfilling their.
No, they're not.
They are fulfilling their function as a
No,
prey.
they're not.
No, they
No,
are
they're
fulfilling
not.
the function in the prey-predator relationship, right?
No, they're
How
not.
no? Yes, they do.
Because it's not a prey-predator relationship.
Of course there is. It is the prey-predator relationship. How it's not a prey-predator relationship?
How is there a prey-predator relationship within animal agriculture?
Well, there is. I come to an animal, I kill it. That is
Is that what happens in your supermarkets?
well, I'm a scavenger, technically, but you want to apply to me the act of killing.
Well,
So-
yeah, no. So what I'm getting at is that like animal agriculture, how it functions, it cannot be described as prey-predator.
Yes,
It
it
is a
can.
type of agriculture. It is a type of farming.
Yeah, and that is all. That is a part of prey-predator relationship. The only difference between
Why is that a
how
part
the-
of prey-predator
how
relationships?
did animal husbandry came to be? You simply fenced off a prey, so it cannot run away. So it's hunting. It's even easier. It is still a prey-predator relationship, right?
I don't agree.
How is it different?
Because it's a different type of process. I think it is
No, it
the
is-
relationship is so radically ontologically different that you're engaging in like a false identity of the relationship.
Yeah, I would disagree. I think that on the fundamental level, there is no difference. One organism takes the life of another.
Yeah, and
the
I think
circumstances might be slightly different.
why are you removing the particulars from it though? Like why are you removing particulars now when you were asking to add particulars earlier?
Well, we can also add particulars now. Well, so, what is the difference between me chasing an animal with a spear and just walking up to the animal and stabbing it with a spear?
Yeah, because that animal has been insubordinated by humans for its entire life and never had
So-
any autonomy to exercise its like expression upon the world.
Yeah.
Instead, it was only ever treated as an instrument, whereas you approaching an animal in the wild has not been treated as an instrument
It is. It is
up until that point. You-
Both are to treat both our instrument of fulfilling my desire to simplify it, to eat. Right? I have
But
decided,
again, why are we simplifying? Like you keep trying to strip particulars away.
well,
Specifically in this example, specifically as it relates to veganism, you're trying to remove particulars to make it more vague and like reducible to like a very simple function that results in a false equivalency. Yet earlier when we were describing how functions work, you were wanting to add particulars, and I was happy to like provide it.
okay, let's add,
So-
let's add particulars, no problem.
Yeah. So let's go back to the idea of like hunting an animal versus farming an animal.
Okay.
So the animal that is farmed experiences a consistent relationship throughout its entire life where it's always instrumentalized. This relationship is different ontologically because the animal has never had any autonomy within the world versus an animal that is in the wild which you're attempting to kill. So the chances of that animal living in the one that is in animal agriculture is basically zero, whereas the animal that you are chasing through the jungle that has experienced it probably has experienced the invasion of predation before and is able to engage in that type of relationship with you. An animal that has been instrumentalized in animal agriculture cannot engage in a prey-like function in relation to you. It is only able to operate within instrumentalization.
It can. It's just not as successful at it.
How can it? How can a baby calf? Because calves are typically killed about like 2-3 years in, male
Yeah.
calves within the dairy industry. How can that animal exercise the ability to evade predation?
Well, didn't you
How
see?
is that possible?
Didn't you see slaughterhouse videos They try to run, just don't succeed.
Yeah, so it's not physically possible.
No, it is physically possible. It happens from time to time that animals escape slaughterhouses, but simply our process of hunting them is so good.
It's
Or
not.
s-
It's farming. It's not hunting. The
Well-
type of relation is fundamentally different, and I've demonstrated that.
Look, it is. Look, is it easier to hunt with a gun over the spear? Yes. Is it easier to hunt with a gun in a closed environment? Yes. Is it easier to hunt with a gun if that environment is even smaller than enclosed? Yes. At what point does it stop being hunting?
This is a false equivalency. This is just another false equivalency.
No, it is the difference between
I've explained to you
a
why
lake
the relation is different. I've explained to you why the relation is different,
No, it's not.
and I don't know why you can't acknowledge
It is the difference between.
Can you negate what I said then?
Look, what you are pointing is the difference between a lake and a pond. At what point does hunting becomes animal agriculture? I would say that animal agriculture is just a form of hunting.
Yeah, and I would disagree, and I'd say that it becomes when the lifespan of the animal is eclipsed by the institution.
Well, the lifespan of any prey animal is eclipsed by the predator who
Including birth. Including birth. When you are born into an instrumental system and then you are killed within an instrumental
Well-
system with no experience of the world outside of that instrumental system, that is what makes it disanalogous from hunting.
Well, it is untrue. Every single animal is born into. I know vegans use this and to twist the words, but I'm certain that at this level you will not at a place in the food chain, right? Even if you are born in.
Man, isn't the food chain an outdated concept? Don't we typically use food web?
That much of particularism, or that much of, not particularism, but that level of if it's a web or it is a line, it's not really important to the argument. It is that from every single point that any animal is born, it has a certain degree of.
Well, no. Actually, I'd say it is important because it discusses the types of relationships between animals in a natural environment,
Good, but we are,
and how when we no, because in animal agriculture we are isolating these animals and closing off their relation to only be with us. It is an instrumental system that does not allow for outside forces to participate within it that are not human.
Okay, let's go even more particular then. A buffalo born on the Serengeti has a certain probability that it will be hunted at any given time, and of course, when it is very young, it is more susceptible, and when it is very old, it's more susceptible to be hunted and killed. Right? Can we agree on that?
Yeah, the probability that it will die at an early age and at an old age is higher. Yeah. Sure.
Okay, so. And can we agree that there is a probability which is probably much closer to 100%? Of course, it is not always, and you cannot argue that it is 100%, but it is very close to 100%. The case that animal, which will be, let's say, a cow, which is closely related to buffalo. Even, okay, you can even say buffalo. They found buffaloes, I think, in Italy and in Asia. A buffalo, of course, this is a water buffalo, but that's not the same thing. But you understand my meaning.
Yeah. For the purpose of analogy, I'm not going to contest the two given animals.
Yeah. Born inside a farmhouse has a certain percentage of being killed at any given time. That percentage may not be, it would be higher, it would not be the same in its lifespan.
The probability of death has nothing to do with the relations that cause the death and the institutional relations, which eclipse what would otherwise be a food web and make it an instrumental system.
Well, it is a food web. Do you say that animals in animal farms don't participate in food webs?
Yeah, that's precisely what I'm saying.
So what do they eat?
Typically, they will eat what is fed to them instrumentally by the farmers.
So they are a part of it. They are a link, right?
Yeah, no. What I'm getting at is that there's only one link. It is not a part of the web.
Oh, it's not a part of the web. They eat the plant.
Because it is an institution. It is they've been institutionalized and instrumentalized in a way that alienates them from their own ends.
Well, I don't. I don't know how institutionalized is any worse than non-institutionalized, but okay. It's not that it removes them from their odd ends. What is their odd ends of the animal?
To live their own life.
Yeah, and they live their own life until something stops them from living their own life.
They're not living their own life.
How they don't know?
They're living the lives that we prescribe to them.
No, they're living their lives in the circumstances that they are given.
How can you claim that we prescribe value, but then claim that we don't prescribe the lives of cows in animal agriculture? Like, this is just absurd degrees of special pleading.
No, look. Everybody lives the life that they are given, in the circumstances that they are given.
What do you mean by given?
Well, assigned randomly, let's say it like that.
The context that they're thrust into, that's fine.
Okay,
yeah.
let's use that. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So?
Yeah. And so then we're stuck in a naturalistic fallacy because we're saying what is ought to be. And when we can...
I'm okay with that fallacy. I have no problem with... I don't have any odds. You are the one who needs to prescribe odds to me and say why I should be vegan.
I've demonstrated in your system how there are oughts baked in. Because there's no meaningful difference between you and other types of naturalists. You're, for some reason, just engaging in this type of, like, what I'm saying is ideologically motivated and metaphysically maligned adherence to descriptivism instead of prescriptivism because, like, you lack that understanding. That's what I'm getting at. And I feel like I've actually adequately demonstrated it in this conversation by pointing out to you, both here and now and earlier, your types of special pleading when you are discussing things like value, when you're discussing things like particulars. How you understand these concepts is structured in a way that allows you to not actually engage with and try and negate any of the negativity within the world. And instead, you're just sitting here propagating this naturalistic fallacy.
Okay, let's try to address my fallacy because I don't see how it can exist if I don't have any odds to anybody else. I can say I want to let's say drinking water. That is very simple. I want to drink water. I have the impulse that I ought to drink water. Do I get to drink water? Maybe I do, maybe I don't. There is nothing to provide you to provide me with water, right? There is no obligation that you have to. Do you?
Why are you bringing up obligations? We haven't discussed obligations once in this conversation.
Well, in that case, yeah, you have a much different understanding of what an ought is than me.
Yeah, so when I say ought, I'm just talking about the normative force of a given proposition. Like a proposition that experiences adequate normative force that one should do it. What does what mean?
Prepositional force of whatever we said.
The normative force of a given proposition.
Yes.
So that just simply means the ethical motivation. That what I'm describing is the push that it occurs within decision making. All of this conversation has been about decision making and why we should behave in specific ways when we make decisions. And funnily enough, that sort of brings me to something I wanted to get back to, which was the right and the good distinction. Are you familiar with it?
No.
So the good is what Hegel considered morality to be, and he didn't talk too much about it. But the right is how it relates to how we should behave, what is the right thing to do, and how this intersects with politics. That's why Hegel actually focused more on political philosophy than he did on ethical philosophy. But it's also how people like perspective philosophy can construct an ethical philosophy out of Hegel's political philosophy, because there is an implicit link between politics and ethics. So what I'm getting at here is that your behaviors have propositions baked into them. When you engage in decision making, you are creating propositions and then acting on those propositions. And what I'm criticizing here is that you're claiming to be able to undertake decision making and create these like propositions which have normative force for you, but you're not actually willing to engage in any of the like meta structure, grammatical work that's required to actually evaluate these decisions. Instead, you're just trying to reduce everything to biology.
Well, everything does come to biology. And you admitted to that.
Well, that wasn't necessarily what was said. We agreed on a relationship between biology and context. But even still, I'd like you to engage with the rest of what I said.
Well, that apart from understanding what you said about Hegel, I did not read Hegel, but I certainly agree that I have normative impulse. I have impulses to behave. I do follow those impulses the best I can, but I do not see how I am obligated to allow anybody else to go on their instincts.
Again, I don't know why you're talking about obligations.
Well, why should I allow anybody else to drink water if I want to drink water? To be more particular.
Because there are other effects and relations that ought to play into. Like, if you're being rational, if you're being logical, you should be acknowledging, and if you have adequate understanding, that is the other thing that has been a common theme of this conversation, is the need for adequate understanding of these other relations and effects. It becomes logical for you to share water with those who are thirsty.
Why?
So things like social cohesion, avoiding ostracization.
Okay. Oh, wait. Let's one reason by one reason. What did you say first?
Social cohesion.
Okay, in human groups, I would admit that is good. I would do that. I think I'm genetically predisposed to do so.
Mm-hmm.
Next.
Avoiding ostracization, which is sort of the
similar.
inverse.
Okay.
Of the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like without having a given particular to describe.
Okay, why should I allow cow to drink water?
Why should you allow?
Okay, why should I not prevent the cow from drinking water?
Where is the good in it? What ends are you aiming at?
Well,
so this is the issue with hypotheticals: is that it's too divorced from reality to actually gain insight into the normative behaviors.
It is not unknown behavior. That is why most predators stand around watering holes. They wait until the prey is so thirsty that they are basically forced.
So this is disanalogous from you preventing a cow to drink water.
If I want the cow to be behaving in a certain way, maybe it is beneficial for me to deny it water or deny it food.
So,
right?
Because you want to instrumentalize a given cow, that makes it okay for you to torture that cow by denying it like necessary resources.
Oh well, okay, it's basically a meaningless word, but I have the option to, and I don't see why I should not do so.
Because it's irrational.
Why is it irrational if it fulfills my goal?
Because your goal, either your goal is maligned or you're unjustifiably preferencing your feelings, prejudicing, not preferencing. You're prejudiced against your own feelings and biases, which is making you behave irrationally because you're not engaging in that level of understanding that the recognition of animals as moral patients requires.
Okay, what do I get by and apart from that you also agree that you are particular, so I probably think that you much more value your preferences than others, but I would say so what do I lose by not understanding this how do you say with lacking understanding of this, whatever you are describing.
Yeah, so with this lack of understanding, you lose your ability to behave well. You lose your ability to be rational. And when I say this, I don't mean in any categorical sense. I mean it in a dialectical sense. So you're regressing in terms of your ability to reason, or you're not progressing in your ability to reason. Your internal skill, the acquired quality that is virtue, is not being bettered. It's either stagnating or regressing.
Okay, that is a lot to unpack in this sentence.
Also, I'd really like to go soon, just because it's dinner time and I've only eaten one meal today.
Yeah, no problem. Just I will be certainly interested in doing this again.
Yeah, I'm happy to have a follow up with you, like whenever.
Yeah, because I don't think we came to the end of this discussion. But before you go, I would like to say that perspective philosophy brought something like this. And of course, I know you are not him and you probably don't agree 100% with him. But I would say
I
that...
definitely don't.
Yeah, I get it as much. I actually think you are more concise and more... you transfer your meaning better than him. He is a bit... hard to understand.
It doesn't feel like it all the time, but I appreciate the compliment.
Yeah, well, it's not a high bar, to be fair.
Oh, don't do him like that. No, I like him. He's a good bloke.
Yeah, I like him too. But I would say that I personally do not feel I'm losing anything. And if I do not feel I'm losing anything, of course, I don't mean feeling as in feeling...
it doesn't seem to you, it doesn't seem apparent to you that there is a loss.
Yeah, it doesn't seem apparent to me that I'm a loss, so did I actually lose anything if I didn't know that I have it? I don't think that I did.
My response to that is just that you can't know what you don't know.
Yeah, so... and I don't see... I see what I would lose if I stop eating animals, and I do not see what I would gain.
Yeah, like if I can make a recommendation to you though, is just to like look into like the metaphysics of Spinoza, look into like Aristotelian ethics.
Okay, what will I get from that?
Moral naturalism. You'll increase your understanding of the world.
Doubtful. I have strong.
You'll acquire virtue.
Oh, virtue! Like
yes,
like yeah. I mean, I know that if I don't ask you this, I will get flack from the other members. So can you give us a short definition of virtue? Because I know that was a very dear topic to a lot of people in veganism.
On the text?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, they were so mad. Oh my god, they were so mad. Yeah, I'm going to give you the exact same definition of virtue that I gave them. Let me just find it.
Hey, Mama.
Because I've got most of the stuff that I cite frequently written down.
Mama. Hello. Dai malo digni.
Where did I put it? Cheeky galah. McIntyre defines virtue initially as the quality of character that enables an agent to overcome the temptations of like external goods external to practices. A virtue, and this is the exact quote that I gave the others, a virtue is an acquired human quality, which is a quality as process, the possession and exercise of which tends to enable us to achieve those goods which are internal to practices, and the lack of which effectively prevents us from achieving any such goods. And just to add to your understanding, what McIntyre means by internal goods is the excellence which can be pursued within a given practice, and that the pursuit of goods internal to practices facilitate eudaimonia. And even if you want to be like uncharitable, it can just be asserted at a semantic level.
Yeah, so they would mean that okay, I am trying to transform this in like a simpler English. I would certainly say that sorry, I was reading a VC text. where was
Come
I?
on, I've quoted multiple things. Okay.
Yeah.
I've quoted many things tonight. I'm allowed to get one like saying wrong. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, for you not to read again, can you just copy paste the VC text because
Oh fuck. Yeah.
because we have
From
been doing this for 3 hours and I'm a bit tired now. So like my ability to remember the exact word for word is kind of lacking at this moment.
yeah. From
Hi Paradigm, by the way, long time no see.
why is this being such a pest? Yep, there we go. In veganism. I'm just gonna look for my because I had to type it out because it's a screen grab of a message.
Yeah.
Virtue. And I can just search. Man, I say the same words a lot.
Yeah, I just hope you stick around. I think you'll be an interesting addition to the server.
Oh yeah, no. Well, I'm actually a mod on ARA. And Zoom and I get on quite well. I'm the primary voice that's trying to prevent him from getting banned for being obstinate.
I was actually banned twice by ARA.
So where's VC text? Where did VC text go? There it is. Okay. But yeah, no, I'm always up for a chat. I like philosophy, and I appreciate attempts at negation of my positions.
Yeah,
because it encourages me to keep learning.
Yeah, I also do. Too bad we did not touch a lot of my position, but there is still probably time. Not today, but in our lifespans. Just give me a half a second to wait for myself. And what are those goods internal to practice?
Yeah, so the goods internal to practices are the so remember before about what Aristotle said about like bridle making and stuff, and like how it is related to an end, and that if good and bad is an adverb, the fidelity with which we can achieve those ends is higher when we do good. Like when we are good at bridle making, our fidelity to the art of horse riding is then better, and we're better at the practice. So what Alistair McIntyre is referring to there is the skills that let you behave better and perform your behaviors and functions better.
Oh yeah, I can certainly go with that definition of virtue. I mean, by that definition, if you are able to be sneaky and stalk the prey more efficiently, that is a virtue in you going hunting.
Yeah, but I'm gonna push. Like the thing is, this is the thing about virtue theory is that we can construct all of them like this, and then we can break down and examine like the relationships and the functions, and we can discuss them in a broader context.
Do you want to do that today or some other time?
I'm starving, dude.
Okay, so
yeah. I'm happy to have a follow up with you.
Okay, just a quick Q&A. There is only 3 members. If they want to ask us anything, you can write the question in VC debate or ask to be unmuted. You have, let's say, 20 seconds because our friend side needs to go. There is only 3 people. That I don't think this will take.
Also, if you can DM me the link to the video when it's up, I'll pop it in ARA.
Yeah, sure.
Get you some more views, and I know that there was a bunch of people that wanted to listen to me talk.
Yeah, no problem. It will also be here in text in debate archives. We also have the.
Okay, sick. Oh, okay, sick. Where
but I think that SD needs to authorized for the video to be put there, but I'm not sure. But it will be uploaded tomorrow. I don't know at what time it takes a bit.
Yeah, there it is.
Okay, so nobody apparently has any questions. So thank you, Csypher. I am certainly looking forward to talking to you again. I think that will be a much more pleasurable experience than talking to perspective philosophy again.
Growing pains, mate. Growing pains.
Yeah, I think we
with us continentals, it's always difficult because there's no shared vocabulary.
Yeah. I think we covered a lot of ground today, and I think it will be easier next time.
Hopefully.
Okay. Do you have any closing statement that you wanted to make?
No, just two closing requests. One is for you to read more philosophy, and the other one's to have make your next meal vegan for me.
Well, I don't think my next meal will be vegan. Maybe the one after that, but my next
one in the next 48 hours. Okay, one in the next 48 hours.
Yeah, one meal shouldn't be too hard. I can probably grant you your wish, but but reading on philosophy, that's a much taller order. I have a burning hatred for most philosophy, and going through 3 pages of any philosophical text is, and that is why I don't actually like reading philosophy. I much more like to discuss it, because I cannot ask a page a question, and that is, and I have a burning desire to, which drives me mad. So yeah, I would certainly like to thank you for this conversation, and I would certainly like to see you around, and don't be discouraged by people asking you the same question after over and over
no, it doesn't bother me at all.
In vegetarian vegan debates. So I will stop my recording now.
All right, wonderful. All right, I'm going to bounce. Hoorah, mate. Take care.